USHL. Welcome, everybody, to the 2023 USHL Phase I Draft. I'm Doug Christensen. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the USHL. We're thrilled to have all of you. It's an exciting day. It's a nerve-wracking day. It's a day of celebration of the future, and obviously for all the players who are going to be drafted today and to the players who won't be drafted today, it's a step in their process as they move forward in their journey. The USHL had 57 NHL draft picks last year, setting records. We're thrilled with the development and growth of our league. And for the players who are watching, and this is the start of their USHL career, where they're going to go, where they'll wind up, it's obviously exciting. I know that for me as a player, I remember sitting around in my parents' office. It seems like a lifetime ago, waiting for my phone to ring. And it was the Green Bay Gamblers who called, and I wound up playing for Don Granato, who's now the current head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, and Mark Osiki, and was fortunate to win a national championship and an Anderson Cup. So for me, I wish all of the players as best of luck as they possibly can. And obviously to all of the families, my biggest thing is thank you so much for all of your sacrifice to get your sons to this point. We know that hockey is not the easiest sport, but today should be a real celebration regardless of where your son is drafted. For those players who weren't drafted, it's just a bump in the road, and your career is going to continue. Tomorrow is our Phase II draft, so you can still be drafted as a 2007 tomorrow. And if your name's not called tomorrow, don't get discouraged. At the end of the day, there's lots of great players who weren't drafted in the USHL draft who are now playing in the National Hockey League. And so for me, we're thrilled to have you. We're thrilled to get this ball rolling. So I'm going to introduce Frank Butler, who is the USHL Director of Player Personnel. I will also be introducing Brendan Collins, who's the GM Director of Scouting for Neutral Zone, and Ian Moran, longtime NHL player, who is the Director of NHL Scouting for Neutral Zone. All of these people here have worked extremely hard to bring this to you, and we're thrilled to be able to put this on to give a little bit more context, a little bit more depth into the players. And obviously, as our teams roll out the draft, we're excited to be watching along with you and seeing where some of the familiar family names and friends get drafted. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Frank Butler, the Director of Player Personnel of the USHL, and Ian Moran and Brendan Collins. And they'll be discussing the tenders that have just been taken or been signed this spring.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. And to reiterate what Doug said, thank you all for hopping on, and it's an exciting time, and we're excited for what the future holds for all you guys watching. I'm going to briefly touch on what a tender means, and then I'll kick it over to Ian and Brendan to talk about some of the tenders in our league. So really what a tender is it's a signed written agreement between the team and a family that requires a player to play in 55% of the games next season in the USHL. Each team gets 2 tenders. They do not have to use their tenders. And what happens when a team tenders a player? So that tender replaces the first and second round picks of the Phase I draft. Tenders are only used on first-year junior eligible kids. So this year it'll be the 2007s. We've already had a bunch of tenders in our league so far. So I'll kick it over right now to Ian and Brendan, and they'll go ahead and talk about some of the tenders in our league.
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for tuning in and watching us. I think I'll start out with Matthew Grimes. He's a defenseman, played at Mount St. Charles. He's got excellent feet, very smooth. He makes a good, hard, accurate first pass. He's the kind of kid that every time I saw him this year, it looked like he had grown an inch and he kept on going. He's got long legs, long arms, very, very smooth feet. Like his feet are excellent. He's got an excellent glide and turn. He's got, real escapability. He works hard in the D zone to box out early before the shot is taken. I think this is a great get for Sioux Falls.
Ian will do the American players, and I'll do the Euros for the. So you're up with Cam McCoy.
Oh, Cam McCoy, Muskegon. He's a big kid. He's strong. He's a good two-way defender. Again, makes a hard, accurate, clean first pass. He works hard to be an outlet for his partner in the neutral zone. There's a lot of younger defensemen. They don't understand how important it is to be in a back diagonal or back. And Coyne works all the time, whether it be in the defensive zone to ball below the goal line for a D-to-D outlet, or it's in the neutral zone diagonal, and then he snaps a hard pass up to the winger. Always played on a winning team. He's been successful. His dad is a longtime NHLer, also a D-man, and has no doubt had a big impact on how Cam plays the game.
I'll kick it off here with Dubuque taking Liam Kilfoyle, top 3 pick in the Q draft for our rankings. And he's decided the USHL route. It's a really talented player out of Salisbury School in Connecticut. Puck control, guy can handle the puck really well. He can score from just about anywhere. It's rare to see an 07 playing prep school against older high school kids. And this kid was on the first line power play. They actually had him out at the point. So this is a high IQ, high skill player that, credit to the USHL for grabbing this kid, because in a typical year, kid of this caliber out of Eastern Canada would typically be a Quebec Major Junior player. So showing the growth of the league and its ability to attract players from all over the world. Right after Kilfoyle is Lev Katzen for Green Bay. This is a kid who played in the GTHL, probably the most competitive minor midget hockey league in the world. He played for the Toronto Marlies U16s. Probably one of the most skilled players in Ontario in this year's draft. Fell in the OHL draft, obviously, because he had signed tender with Green Bay. So another example of a highly skilled Canadian player coming down to the States. This kid's another high hockey IQ, really talented player with the puck, creative, real finesse player, but he's not afraid to get his nose dirty either. He can play first line power play, and this is a guy who, despite his size, will be counted on next year to play right away.
And then after that, we have Cooper Simpson, Minnesota high school out of Shakopee. This kid can just score. I mean, he gets the puck in the slot, and it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to overhandle it. It hits his stick. He handles it cleanly, and boom, he puts it where he wants it. He doesn't need a lot of opportunities to put it home. He's really good in the neutral zone at looking guys off and hitting the activating D coming down the wide side. He's surprisingly strong on the puck. He can protect it in the offensive zone before the goal line. Minnesota high school kid signing a tender and coming out. I think he's going to thrive there in the style of play that Tri-City has.
Next up, we've got a Swede who played this year in the Tier 1 Elite League. He played up a level with the U16s. Sasha Boumediene, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. It's an offensive defenseman. Another guy who really can handle the puck. He's a first-line power play type. He's got a heavy shot from the point. He was second on their team in points, almost a point a game, again, playing up a level. He's got good size at 6 feet, almost 170 pounds, and he comes from a line of talented hockey people in his family. His uncle, his brother, his father. So Budimir is another immediate impact guy who I don't know if he'll play on the power play next year, but he's got the skill to do it.
And then after that, we have Lucas Sachin. He tendered with Chicago. This fits his style of play perfectly. He's a puck possession guy. He's very shifty. He's very quick laterally. He was an 07 and played U16 for Shattuck, and he had 78 points in 57 games. He can score. He's another player, doesn't need much space to get a shot off and put it where he wants it. He's strong. He gets to the net. He can make nice little support passes, 5-foot passes. Then he moves his feet and jumps into the ice that's created when the defender he's with follows the pass. He's a dual citizen. His brother started out with the U.S. program last year and left for the WHL. I think that's probably why he didn't get any looks for the NTDP team, but he is a highly skilled kid. He's competitive, and he can certainly make plays. And then Mason Fleece is another Shattuck player. He's a kid that I like how he plays. He's also very creative. He's competitive. I thought at NTDP camp he got better and better as it went on. He kind of found his game as it went on. It looked like my opinion of him is he's a player that has to have a little bit of structure. And truthfully, the first couple of days at NTDP, it was kind of run and gun. And as it went on and guys kind of settled into where they were, I thought he added an edge to his game. He played hard the last game. I think he had 2 breakaways, and he was very dynamic in the last game and really stepped up and played the way he was capable of.
Yeah, we'll close out the tenders with last, certainly not least, Zach Morin. You can make an argument he's the best player of this group. Puck possession player, again, similar to Fleece. He's got separation speed. He's got a high level release. I mean, he can shoot at a USHL level today. He played on probably the best line in the country this year at the U15 level at Little Caesars with Horkoff. And then they kind of switched their third on that line. But you're going to see a lot of Little Caesars kids going today. And Morin, like I said, he's arguably the most skilled player. He's a guy we have ranked #1 in our QMJHL draft rankings. So you're getting, probably the best prospect in Eastern Canada. That's it for the tenders.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Now, before the draft gets going, I have a couple slides here that I'd like to present on, kind of our league, and then I'll talk a little bit about the USHL draft process, and what it means to be drafted and what happens next. I know a lot of parents out there probably have, a lot of questions about the draft process and what happens. So I'll go through all that here, but I'll talk a little bit about our league first. So the USHL is the only Tier 1 junior hockey league in the United States. There's 16 teams in our league. And what Tier 1 status means is there's no cost associated with playing in our league to the families. So there's no player fees. Food and travel expenses are paid for. The players get free equipment head to toe. Our sponsor this year is Bauer. So they get skates, sticks, gloves, helmets, all that stuff. You kind of see the kids' eyes perk up when that happens. But so Tier 1 really means no expenses to the family. Billet expenses, food, travel, player fees. There's none of that in our league. A little bit about our game schedule. So we do play a 62-game regular season. The practice to game ratio is 2-1. So really what our league is designed to do is get you prepared to be a pro and get you to the college ranks as well. Like I mentioned, 2-1 practice to game ratio. So we're huge on development and developing players. You'll get regional rivalries within our league. We have a pro-style playoff format, and 94% of the games are played on the weekends. This is so that players that are still in high school, so players will be anywhere from 16 to 20 in our league. So those players that are still in high school, it gives them some time to balance, their academics along with, the training and practices and games that come with the athletics and playing in the United States Hockey League. A little bit about, the path beyond the USHL and the road to the NHL. So on the screen here, you'll see a lot of numbers that we as a league are very proud of. So the most prevalent one is last year's 2022 NHL draft. We had 57 players with USHL ties taken in that draft. So that number is more than any other league in the entire world. So that's something we pride ourselves on. This was a huge increase in prior years, and to set a USHL record. And then, on opening night of the 2022-2023 season, we had 193 players that had USHL ties. So again, another huge number. And that number grew by roughly 45 players. So if you think about it, that's really two full teams worth of players that are on NHL draft rosters on opening night. A little bit about our league eligibility. So for the 2023-24 season, the eligible players or eligible birth years will be any birth year from the 2003 to 2007 birth year. Each team is only allowed 4 players who will be born in the 2003 birth year. This does not include American goalies. The import rule is we'll have a limit of 4 internationals per team plus 2 Canadians. So the breakdown of that is you can have 4 Canadians, 2 internationals. You can't exceed 4 international players. And then a limit of 2 international goalies per USHL team. And us as a league in the USHL, we are compliant with USA Hockey guidelines. So getting into a little bit of today and what everyone tuned in for and what everyone's excited for is the USHL draft. So May 2nd, 2023, which is today, will be the Phase I Futures Draft. This will be the 2007 birth year only. This draft will be 10 rounds long. And then tomorrow, that'll lead us into our Phase II entry draft, which any player from the 2003 to 2007 birth year can be drafted. And that'll go on, and the selections will be made until teams complete their roster of 45 players. So if you are drafted, chances are you will be placed on the team's affiliate list. So what you see on the screen right now is a little bit of a breakdown of what the affiliate list looks like. We've kind of tailored these rules a little bit this year, so I'll just breeze through them quickly. So we have 10 2007s are going to be eligible to be on the affiliate list this year, 8 2006s, 2 2005s, and then we have 2 flex spots. So what the flex spots are this year is it could be any birth year from the 2005 to 2007. So you can have 2 07s at the flex spots, you can have 2 05s, you can have an 05 and an 06, 06 and 07. But really, we added those 2 flex spots to build our make our affiliate list bigger and get more players into our league and develop more players. So what it means to be drafted in the USHL, it's an extreme honor to be drafted into our league. Like I mentioned, one of the best junior hockey leagues in the world. So what that means is the team will exclusively own your rights. Very similar to, pro drafts, the NHL, MLB, NBA, right? So that team owns your rights. And what that means is other teams in the league cannot communicate with you. You'll be placed on the affiliate list for future use, assuming you do not make the roster come main camp. So I'm sure a lot of you parents and players are wondering what happens next when you are drafted. So the breakdown of this is you'll be drafted today or tomorrow. Chances are you'll attend a team's main camp in either June or July. Like I mentioned before, that team will place you on their affiliate list. And then, most likely in the 2023-24 season, you'll continue to play midget, prep school, high school, whichever route you choose. And you can see here on the right, kind of the ladder of development. So, either youth, high school, prep, midget, tier 2 juniors, you'll go back and play, wherever it is that you've committed to play next season. That team that drafted you will monitor your progress. And then you will have the potential to play affiliate games throughout the season. So a team may call you up. Let's say you're a prep school kid, and Christmas break happens and the kids go home for Christmas break. A team may ask you to come play some affiliate games with them. So keep that in mind that, just because you're placed on the affiliate list and you don't make the main roster on opening night doesn't mean you won't play games in the USHL next year. So this leads me into my last point here, a little bit about the USHL combines. So as you can see, some pretty notable numbers there. 13% of American-born players last year drafted in the NHL attended a combine at some point. That's a number that we're really proud of. Attending our combine events is a great way to get exposure to every single team in our league, all in one centralized location. So just kind of a little breakdown of what our combines will look like next year. So the Phase 2 combine will be 2006 and 2007 birth years. The Phase 1 combine will be 2008 and 2009 birth years. And then our player development camp will be 2010s and 2011s. And to be selected for the USHL combines, visit USHL.com and fill out our player questionnaire form. I'm going to kick it back over to Doug Christensen, who will segue us into the USHL draft.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate that. Great work. Fun to see Big Vic Mancini, son of Bob Mancini, on that infographic. For all of you who are tuning in, this is the USHL Phase I Draft. What that really is focusing on right now is the 2007 birth year. But before we look ahead to the players who are coming in, I just want to touch on where we are in the playoffs. We are in the middle of our Clark Cup playoffs. We have 4 teams left. We have the Anderson Cup champion, Fargo Force, coached by Nick Oliver, and their general manager is Kerry Eads, hosting on Thursday and Friday night the Lincoln Stars, who are the 3 seed who beat Waterloo. And it's obviously it's going to be great for our league in terms of 2 great organizations going head to head. Rocky Russo coming up to Fargo, and so that'll be a great series. And then in the East, we obviously have some really high end talent. The Chicago Steel, the number 1 seed in the East, are hosting the 2 seed, the Youngstown Phantoms. And for all of us in the league, that's going to be a fun matchup, high flying hockey, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of NHL scouts in the buildings for both. Before we jump in to the picks, I just want to go through what we're going to do today. So Brennan and Ian, they'll be the ones breaking down primarily which the players, and then Frank will obviously be adding a bit more context to our teams, but additional information on the USHL as the draft progresses. We also have information and interviews with a number of USHL players at the ends of a number of the rounds. So please stay tuned to not just hear it from us, but about actually what the players have to say about their experiences in the league, and also what it was like for them being drafted. But before we get into that, Brendan, Ian, what are you looking forward to? What have you seen this 2007 birth year? What do you think is going to be the highlights that we're going to see today?
Go ahead.
I think it's a talented birth year. I think it's deep as compared to, say, last year. NTDP was hard for this year for them to pick. I'm talking to some of the guys over there. So some years it's pretty cut and dry and it's easy. But when you've got a deep group like this, I think the bottom half of the top 50 there's not a lot separating it. So I think it'll be interesting to see the order of the first 3 rounds here as we get started, because it's in a typical year, a first rounder differentiates quite a bit from a second, and a second differentiates from a third. I think this year you're going to get first, second round talent all the way down into the 3rd round.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of piggyback on that and say I think that the 07 group is very deep. I think there's a lot of kids who might not be selected higher, and there's kids that won't be picked at all that I think will go to camps this summer and really impress and do well. This is a group, because of COVID, actually 07's played pretty much throughout COVID, so we got to see these guys quite a bit and travel around to different tournaments when they were playing. I'm excited to watch how this plays out, but honestly, I think this is, like Brendan said, a very deep crew that there's going to be some late round picks who end up having really good USHL careers.
And Frank, obviously, you've been around a lot of different rinks. What's been your take, not only on the 2007 birth year from the USHL Phase I and Phase II Combine recently, what you've been in rinks all year. What's been your impression, and what are you most looking forward to today?
Yeah, definitely. I'd have to agree with Brendan and Ian. Running a lot of our youth events, the Fall Classic, the American Cup, the Frosty Cup. I got to see, a number of these players. And, what I found impressive is, how high the ceiling is for some of these kids, right? Like a lot of the youth programs do such a great job of getting these kids ready for the next level. They're on the ice all the time, right? Developing their craft. So, you'll see a lot of players go like Brendan said, and Ian said, there'll be some players that go later or, attend a main camp and, work their way onto affiliate list just because the class is that deep and that good. I was at the NTDP camp and, like Brendan was saying, it was hard to pick out who was going to make that team because, you could argue for every single kid that was there, they probably should have made the team. So I'm excited to see who gets selected today. I hope kids have butterflies in their stomach because I do. This is an exciting time for our league and the USHL. So, this will be a deep class. And, to mention what Doug said, right, if you don't get taken today, that doesn't mean, your route's over. Everybody's path's different. Everybody's got a different process. So stick to what you're doing, play to your identity, right? Build upon your skills and just get better each and every day.
Brendan, Ian, if I recall correctly, you and I were on the phone. We're probably about 120 days into the year. How many days have you been in a hotel seeing a rink so far?
Oh, I see a ton of games, but there's nobody, I don't think anyone that lives on the road like Brendan. I mean,
that's what I was gonna say, Brendan. So out of the days so far this year, how many? I assume, and the point that I'm trying to make is, you've seen all these kids all over. What to you is the advice that you would give the 2008s who are watching this year as they're trying to work towards their draft next year? When you're in a building, what are the things that have really separated kids for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, Doug. I think work ethic and compete, especially for this league, for the USHL. Every league's different, but there's no pretenders in the USHL. It's a really hard league to play in. So, if you don't stop on pucks, if you don't back check hard, if you're, afraid of getting hit or not going into the dirty areas, you're gonna have a really tough time impressing USHL scouts at this level. And a lot of like Frank said, there's a lot of skill. Some of the youth programs do a great job of developing these kids, but you go to a USHL game, it's really fast, it's physical. You're not seeing backhand toe drags and some of the stuff that youth players are trying to do that look good online. So my advice, I think, would be to be an honest player, work hard at both ends of the ice, because the guys that are watching you, they have to project you to play in their league. And in this league, you can't get away with with some of that stuff. So that'd be my advice.
What about you, Ian?
So for me, the number one thing when I'm watching a player is his brain and how well he processes what's going on. Does he have game awareness? Does he know, how much time is in a shift? If he's in the flow of a shift, should he get it deep at the lines? I agree with 100% what Brendan said. I think there's a lot of kids out there that, get infatuated with the Instagram moves and everybody oohing and on that, and think that has a real correlation with how good a player is or how successful be in the USHL. So brain's my number one, and then number two is compete. In the USHL, it's a battle every game, every practice. You've got to come in and you've got to be ready to roll. There's some kids that are high prospects that are, they're learning the details of what goes into a practice to compete hard in the practice, because you're fighting every day against the best kids for that ice time, and you want to be a go-to guy by the coach. So you have to be able to bring it every single game, every single practice so you can differentiate yourself from your peers.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Just to reiterate, I know we're going to get to the picks here at any minute. It's the 2007s, which will be picked today. Tomorrow, you'll see the Phase II draft. Neutral Zone will be covering the Phase II draft. And so please follow our social channels to watch those. You will see at the bottom, if you want any of the merch that any of the guys are having, you'll have the option and links to be able to get it. And so we're obviously nice job, guys. We're thrilled to be able to bring this to you. And tomorrow, please keep in mind, if you're a 2007 and you're not selected today, you can be selected tomorrow. Frank, any last words before we start seeing these picks start to roll in, or any last thoughts before we get going?
Yeah, no, just kind of to talk about, what the teams in our league look for, right? And stuff that's most important to the teams in our league, right? I'm around a lot of our GMs and scouting staffs. I think the most important things are: one, you got to be an elite player. Two, you got to be a good person, right? We want good people in our league. We want good cultures. And then, right, being able to play at our league is very hard. So bring those intangibles. And like Ian and Brendan were saying, build good habits. Be a player that takes pride in playing 200 feet, playing your position, and being responsible in all situations. That's what I would say to the upcoming 2008s. And you'll see a lot of 2007s that'll go today in this draft that have executed all those things.
My final thing before we get to Madison on the clock is, I always tell every player, you are your own individual brand. And if you are a steak restaurant, this might surprise you. Those of you guys who have met me in the past, I love steak. If you're a steak restaurant, you want to have great meal, great atmosphere, great service. You want it to be clean. You can have a great steak, but if the other pieces of that aren't there, you're not going to go back to that restaurant. And that's what it is for a player. You can be a player who does all the little things, but if you aren't known to be a good teammate, to have good habits, and to be doing all the little things, you're not going to have success the way that you want to. And as you start to climb the pyramid, the difference between a player who's in the USHL and not is very, very small. And a lot of times it's the intangibles of what it brings to the team. So we're going to get the picks here coming in any minute now. Madison, you're on the clock, and I'll turn it over to Brendan and Ian and Frank. And so thanks so much to everybody and all of you watching. Please, if you're at home and you have questions, please drop them in. But it's going to be a busy day for those guys, and we're really pleased to have all of you joining us today. So thanks so much again, and we'll turn it over to the guys from Neutral Zone and Frank Butler. Thank you.
So what do you think? Is Madison's on the clock right now?
Madison, team that had a really small D core this year. I'd love to see him take like a 6'6" defender to start.
They just had news yesterday hiring a coach and GM.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how well he knows. Yeah, he is big time. But it'll be interesting to see how well he knows the crop of 07s. I would think he's probably been recruiting kids a little bit older.
Yeah, I saw him at the U15 Nationals when he was working as an assistant with Wisconsin, and he just went to Madison to be the, I think, head coach and GM.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of the work he's done. He built championship teams at the D3 level. Got a chance in the Division I as an assistant this year as alma mater. So that's a big pickup for Madison. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
He won a national championship as a player, right? At Wisconsin, I think he did.
He might have.
I think he did. Might be pulling that out of thin air, but I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they'll start us off here. As an American, is it last year was what, Matt Frost?
Matthew, yeah.
Canadian, well, dual.
No, he's a Canadian, but he'd been living in the States, living down in Maryland, playing for Team Maryland growing up, and then he was at South Kent.
Right.
He was U15, played U16. He's a competitive two-way kid. He's spent the last little bit out in Waterloo. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see here what they do. There's a lot of good players available right here at the top. A lot of good players available all the way through, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, like we talked about earlier, right? Like I'm not surprised it's going to take Madison a little bit of time because the birth class is so deep. So I anticipate some teams are struggling with who they're going to take. I assume that that's what's going on right now. Is there's so many good players to take, and the birth class is so deep. So I'm interested
to say that, Frank, on our end, like our process, we start with about 1,100 players that are in our database, let's say for a given birth year for a draft like this, and then we whittle that down really quickly to usually it's about 400, and then from the 400 we really start throughout the year whittling it down to 300, and we think 300 is the kids that have the skill to play in this particular league. And this year we got down to 600, and we had a tough time getting from 600 to 300. So I think there'll be at least 50 players that don't get drafted today that'll have what we call USHL grade. They're good enough to be drafted. There's only 150 picks.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of just the kudos to you guys and all the work you do. And we appreciate you guys being on, for the USHL draft show. I know it's a lot and it takes a lot of time, so we appreciate everything you do. And I think we do have our first pick that's in.
Okay. So Sam Capel for Madison. This is a kid who played at Notre Dame Academy and Wisconsin High School. So this is a local kid. He also played for Team Wisconsin, had a really strong performance at nationals for the Team Wisconsin U15s. Big body. He can handle the puck. He's a scorer. Really impressed with his game. There was going into the game, Drew Schock was the kid that most people were talking about because he had just been selected for the NTDP team. But if you ask the scouts, Sam Capel was their best player that weekend, and he's a kid who's been rising as the season's gone on. So that's a safe pick, given he's got the size, he's got a game that translates to the USHL level, and that he's an honest two-way player. That's a nice pick, and especially get a local kid is a nice touch. Next up for Chicago, they take Ryan Betzold out of Gentry Academy. It's a Minnesota high school player. Another super skilled. He's a little bit undersized, but he's got vision, poise. We just saw him at last 2 weeks ago at the Minnesota High Performance. He's one of the most talented players in the state of Minnesota. Chicago's got as you know, Ian, they've got a way of taking these small guys, and Chicago's not a very big team, but they seem to win an awful lot.
They play with pace. They've got ideas. When a player has a puck, everyone else on the ice knows where they're going and what's going on, where they're moving. This kid is, like you said, he's undersized. He's highly skilled. He's going to fit in there really nicely.
Yeah, and Chicago's had some success in the past with Gentry Academy, so nice pick there. Next up, we got Des Moines. They take Ben Kevin. Ian and I were talking about who we thought the number one pick would be. I thought Ben Kevin might be the guy. This kid went to NTDP camp. We saw him for a week. He was good, played well there. It's not
high compete.
Yeah, high compete. It's not really his style, that camp. As you mentioned earlier, he's a structured player, and that was a run and gun. Some of the bigger guys don't do as well at that camp, but he was still solid performance. But he went to nationals with something to prove. This kid led his team all the way to the championship. They were not I don't believe they were a top 10 team in the country. I don't think. If they were, they were 5 through 10, and he propelled them at some point single-handedly to a championship. He can score. One of the best scorers in this draft.
He goes in traffic. He's fearless that way.
Absolutely. Attacks the net. Just a tough.
His style of play suits the USHL really well.
Yeah.
He is a competitive kid, and he goes to the grimy areas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had the chance to see him at National Camp 2 and at 15 Nationals, and he's a hard player to play against. I think he'll fare well in our league, and he'll be a force to be reckoned with. Next up, we have Max Anderson out of Creighton Durham in Minnesota. Seeing a little run here on the Minnesota high school kids. This is another kid. He just made the top 54 camp. We just gave him an A- for his performance there. There's only a couple A-
in the whole event. Kid can really move the puck. Talented. He's also someone that can change direction really quickly. So he's, especially for a kid who's 6 feet, usually you see that in the smaller guys. He's dangerous in transition. He can accelerate, hit top speed quickly. And he's one of the guys who can handle the puck and make plays at pace. He doesn't need to slow down, doesn't need to have his head down to find the puck. So high-paced playmaker there. And he's got high school experience. He played in the state tournament this year. Actually thought he did a really good job in the state tournament for a freshman. Showed quickness, showed poise. He was always involved. So this is a nice pick. He's got to grow into his frame a little more, but a kid who's played against older competition. Next up, we got Hayden Ellis out of Buffalo Junior Sabres. It's another. We're seeing a run on some smaller guys here, which is nice to see. He's a really skilled, dynamic playmaker. He's really smart. Sees the whole sheet, and he's someone that he had some injuries this year. So Tier 1 elite. When we were out in Minnesota, he wasn't there, but he had a really strong falls when I saw him most. And then Buffalo didn't make the Nationals, so this is a smart pick by Cedar Rapids. Carlson and crew, they've been around a long time. The seasoned veterans over there, they know what they're doing. This is a kid who might have fallen on some boards just because of his availability because he was hurt, but a really talented player and a nice pick here, number 7.
And then we have Lincoln takes Jacob Rombach. He's a big 6'4" left shot D-man. I thought at NTDP camp, I thought he played really well. He had no difficulties with the smaller guys trying to come in and dangle him. He kept his hips low and his chest high. He body positioned. He did really well. He was a kid that I thought had a real chance to make the team, and with his athleticism, he would have moved up. And if he started in the bottom pairing, he could have moved up and ended up playing in top 4. I really loved him in NTDP camp.
Yeah, Rombach for us, we had him on the team leaving that camp. I think they're going to regret that because his athleticism, as Ian said, and he's got a physicality, he's got a meanness.
He's got some mean to him, like real mean. It was great.
This is a guy, in today's game, you got kids that have a lot of skills coaches. You've got all kinds of. So this kid played at Spring Lake High School, not as well known in the state of Minnesota. He doesn't have all the background of some of these other guys, and he went in and they scrimmaged against the U17 national team, and he was punching guys right in the head. This is a kid who's got NHL upside. To get him at 11 overall, I know there's teams that were wanting to tender this kid. He's a special player. That might be the best value.
He's got a real future.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys. His ability to take away time and space for the opposition at the national camp was something that really impressed me. Right, he just closed down time and space. Eliminated his man from puck, and then made really good reads on the back end. So I agree with everything you guys are saying for sure.
Next up, we've got Waterloo takes Nick Kasiba, another kid that was selected NTP evaluation camp. Played out, like I've said, we're going to talk about Little Caesars all day because they have 10 plus kids that are going to be drafted today. The top team in the country. What separates Kasiba, I think, from some of his teammates is he's got the skill and the finesse to play that game, but he's also got a compete level and a grittiness that he can play up and down the ice. He can play power play, penalty kill. They moved him around an awful lot. He can play wing. He can play center. So that makes sense for Waterloo to grab him here.
Then we have Madison taking Mason Moe, another player at NTDP camp who came in with a high compete. He battled and won his battles. If he's a kid that if he had the puck and you took it from him, he's got the mindset that he's getting it back. Another player, just like we talked about with Rombach, that I thought he played well enough to be on the national team. I think this is a great pick by Madison. He's just a competitive kid. I thought he stood out from some of his peers just by how hard he goes after the puck when someone takes it from him. There's no quitting him.
Yeah, I've seen this kid since he was a Bantam, and he's been that way his whole career. He's power forward, but he's got some touch and some finesse to his game.
He's got some lateral movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's only going to get better. He was another kid I was a little surprised that they didn't take him because he's another guy who can play first line and he can play fourth line. He's got great versatility. So next up, Dubuque takes Cooper Dennis. He's been one of our favorites for the neutral zone scouting staff. Our Canadian guys love this guy. He's small. He's only 5'5", 140, but boy, he can create.
He plays his butt off.
Yeah, I mean he's.
So we go back with Cooper Dennis to the 68 camp that the kids have.
Oh yeah.
In one game, this kid's a shooter. I mean, he loves to shoot it. He needs no space to get it off. He had 16 shots in one of those games, and it was he could have. He's just a shooter. He's competitive. He flies. He's with his size. I think his competitiveness. He's gonna be a pain in the butt for the big tall D man because he gets underneath him and he does not need any space to get a shot off.
And he plays bigger than his size too, right, guys? Like he has no problem getting to the dirty areas, getting in those corners, right, winning puck battles, and then getting to the front of the net. I had the chance to see him at 15 nationals as well, and I got to see BK a bunch at the American Cup, and just the way he plays, right, maybe a little undersized, but he plays like he's 6'2", 6'3". So his compete is top notch, and I really like this player.
He's a kid when there's a point shot and it looks like he's boxed out, he gets underneath the defenseman's leverage and spins off him. And even if the goalie ties it up, he's the one who's closest to the goalie's glove or, when it's tied up. He's always right there, right in the grimy area.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would say with Dennis too, he's somebody that scores big goals. And, sometimes you might look at stat sheets and think one kid's better than another because of the stats. But for the guys who are actually going to the rink and watching them, they care about, is it a game-winning goal or is it the sixth goal of the game when you're up 5-1? Cooper Dennis scores big goals. Next up, Anthony Bongo, skilled puck-moving defenseman, offensive defenseman out of mid-Fairfield. Ian, you saw him a lot more than I did. But
yeah, he plays with his head up. He goes back for dump-ins. He's looking over both shoulders. He's the type of D-man that doesn't just look for who the F1 is on the forecheck. He's looking over his shoulders, and he's finding the F2 and the F3. His passes are hard. They're flat. They're on the tape. He in neutral zone transition, when he gets it, he's giving it to the center. He's making sure the center doesn't have somebody stepping up on him. That puck is on time, and it's where the forward wants it. He had a play out at NTDP camp. He ended up with a second assist on it, but he had the puck along the offensive blue line, and he was faking and bobbing and getting the forwards to change their sticks, to change their toe cap direction, and then he dished it off wide to the low hash mark, who put it across for a tap in. But the play was all him and all his skill, that he was a puck possession guy.
And he's so elusive, right, Ian? Like, he gets the puck on his stick, and his edges are great. He has the ability, make a tight turn, do a spin, and elude a guy, and then make that first hard, crisp tape-to-tape pass. I had the chance to see Anthony a lot, being a Connecticut kid. So I saw that mid-Fairfield group play a bunch, and just every time I saw him, he just impressed me more and more with his play.
One more thing about Bongo. This year, I saw them playing the Junior Eagles at Daly Rink in Boston, and he got caught up on a play where he was carrying up. He made a play. There was a turnover, and he was probably fourth in the offensive zone on the back check, and he busted his ass to back check all the way down, and it was a 2-on-1. And the Eagles tried to go the backdoor pass, and he dove and got a stick on it to break it up. It just showed the high compete that he has. And I've said a couple of times so far today, compete is what you need in the USHL.
Next up, we got Sam Spihar for Muskegon. This kid played out of Sioux Falls, played up a level at U16. We had him at like 65-ish in our midterm rankings. And when we saw him at the NTDP camp, I was a little surprised. Boy, did he have a big NTDP camp. He ended up, I think, 30th on our list. Really climbed the ladder. He's a great skater. He just floats on the ice. He's got good separation speed. He's smart, reads the play well, and gets to open ice. And he's the kind of guy that makes the players around him better. So really impressive performance for him. NTDP was really the spot for us where he jumped, and I'm guessing same for Muskegon.
Yeah.
Next up, Des Moines. This one kills me. Edison Angle, because Ian liked this kid a lot during the season. I had him lower than this. Good lesson if an NHL defenseman tells you that he likes a D. Listen, because I didn't listen, and here he is going second round. I think I had him as like a 5th or 6th round grade. So Ian, take it away. This is your guy.
I don't know. I like how again, passing the puck. I think I'm pretty consistent here with, I like guys that can make good, hard, flat passes. You know, it's one thing when you throw a bouncer over there and expect someone to handle it cleanly. He gets it. He moves it. He's good in his end. He shuts down the cycle quickly. When he goes into the corner in the defensive zone, if the guy that he's on passes the puck, he doesn't follow the pass. He stays with his guy and pins him and takes him out of the play. I think this is a great pick.
Next up, we got another one of your favorites, Ian Cole. Monaro. This kid is
a bull.
Ian's a romantic, huh? Ian, you a romantic?
Yeah. This is I love this kid. He's another player that we saw at the 68 a couple years ago, and he came on the ice and he was just, you know, manhandling guys. He's got the size. He says he's 6'3", 200 pounds. He is a truck. He's not out there to make any friends. He is out there to make an impact to help his team win. I think this kid is one of my favorites. Like, honestly, like as soon as we saw his name come up, I got a nudge under the table because Brendan knew that he's one of my guys that I love.
I wanted this kid at NTDP camp just to see how the forwards would be able to play against him, because he's a man. I mean, this guy, he plays like a 1980s NHL defenseman.
He's the kind of kid at NTDP camp that all the highly skilled kids would have been kissing his butt because they were trying to cut side deals with him so that he wouldn't destroy him. Yeah. He is a hard-nosed kid who I thoroughly enjoy watching.
He'll fit right in the Western Conference of the USHL. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Next up, Chicago takes Teddy Mutrin.
Let me guess, this is Ian's guy too?
Yeah, this is another Ian kid. So, we're having a run of Ian's guys here. Chicago Steel. Tell us about Mutrin.
So Coach Teddy, the last couple of years, he's a hockey player. He's an athlete. He's strong. He understands spacing in the offensive zone below the face-off dots. He is able to protect the puck, roll off contact, and he can attack the net, or he can find the guy in the high slot, or he can find the weak side D. He plays with his head up. He's strong. He's ultra competitive. This year, for part of the year in the fall, the split season in New England, he's a righty. I had him playing left wing just to torture him, just so he'd have more versatility. And I know he wasn't happy about it, but he got better and better at it. And then as the season went on, put him back at center and right wing. He's an athletic kid. He's one of my favorites. He's a good kid, and he's a heck of a player. This is to me right here. This is a great pick.
Yeah, I agree, and I got to see him a ton in the first half of the year with the Eagles team that you coached, and you know, he's a 200-foot player that every team needs on their team, right? 200-foot power forward that plays the game the right way. That's how I would describe Teddy Mutrin, and that's what I saw all year from him. So I'd agree with you for sure. Yeah,
I mean, in the state championship game, we had a couple guys get hurt, and I ended up double shifting him where he played D, and then he played literally the same shift. There would just be a whistle, he'd stay out, and he'd play forward, and then he'd get his breath, he'd go back and he'd play D. He's a highly competitive kid. Again, I go back to being competitive, but he's one of those.
Next up, Luke Brierley. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, Luke Brierley.
For Dubuque. Another, undersized puck-moving defenseman, excellent skater.
Yep.
Edge control. This kid moves as well laterally as he does forward and backward. He can handle the puck. He can run the power play, but I think what stands out to me is his retrieval.
Yeah.
He's a breakout machine. Puck comes in his corner, it's coming out of there. He can skate it out. He can pass it out.
It's interesting because he's an undersized D, but he uses a really long stick, so his reach is longer than you think when he's defending. And Brendan and I were just over in Switzerland at the U18s, and one of the things I thought was really interesting was the Swedish D-men all seem to be using really long sticks. We didn't talk about that, but that was something that was in my head. But Riley has smooth feet. He retrieves pucks really well, and he's a good D-man.
Next up, Green Bay. Sticking with the Toronto Marlies theme here, they took Katzen with their tender. They come back in the second round with Aiden Lane. Different also with the Toronto Marlies. We had him ranked 30th in our OHL draft. He fell because teams knew he was looking at this league. Good size, two-way player. He's got some physicality, and he can really score. He had almost 2 points a game in the GTHL this year. And he's another guy who brings a versatility that I know Green Bay appreciates. So he's not as finesse as Katzen, but they actually played well together this year for Toronto, and he brings a little bit more power and a little bit more physicality. But this kid can really score. I think he's a guy who, I don't know what his plan is if he'll play this year or the following year, but he's an immediate impact type guy that he can play early, just in his size and his approach. Next up, Tri-City takes Easton Pace. No surprise here. They like skill, they like speed. This kid's got that in bundles. He was very strong at the Nationals, I thought, U15 Nationals with Little Caesars. And he's another guy that kind of bounced around different lines. He had over 130 points this year.
Yep.
He kept climbing up our rankings.
He's a skilled kid that's not afraid at all to get to the crease. He's been that way for the last couple of years. It's not new to his game. It just seems to be part of his game DNA. He's a high work ethic kid, and he's got high compete.
Yep. Next up, Lincoln stays with Little Caesars. Like I said, we're going to hear them a lot today. Aiden Jans. I actually thought Aiden Jans at Nationals, I've seen them a bunch. USHL Fall Classic, I thought he was good. Maybe a second line-ish type guy. Then in the middle of the year, I would have had him maybe the best player on the second line. And then at Nationals, you could make an argument he was their first, second, or third best forward on the whole team, and that's a hell of a team. He is very dynamic. He's got really quick and elusive puck handling.
He's got really quick feet.
Yeah, really quick feet. He pulls away, and he scores on breakaways. He scores when he gets his opportunities. He's got playmaking ability and finishing. I really like this pick. He is the only knock on him would be that he's undersized, but with his skill and his sense, I don't think it's going to bother him in this league.
Yeah,
he's got a motor too, doesn't he? I mean, he busts up and down the ice.
He can be F1 on the forecheck and then F1 on the back check.
For sure.
Same shift.
Next up, Waterloo takes Jesse Orlowski. Really like this kid. His upside. He's a little raw at this point. 6'2", 180, but he was at national camp. He made as the week went on, he got better and better. He made a real argument to be considered for that team. I'm not surprised to see him taken early here. He followed up nationals looking like a guy who had something to prove. I think he plays his best hockey when he's playing that way.
Yep.
When he's playing more physical and tough and direct. But boy, this kid's got real upside. Really athletic. Yep. Moves well for a kid that size. Really like where his game could go.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Jesse. He understands spacing offensively. Understands how to create width and depth on a line rush. He doesn't just jam things in. He's got soft hands, and he can suck a defender to him and put it through his triangle, put it through his feet, and then he just rolls off it and gets back into the open ice. I thought as NTDP camp went on, I thought he stepped up his physicality, and once he did that, I thought he turned into a difference maker, and especially on the third and fourth days. At his size and the smoothness of his feet, he's an NHL kid.
What I love about him too is I got the chance to see him a bunch too, and every time I saw him, he just got better and better and better. Right, so I saw him in the fall, and then I saw him at nationals, and he was just better every time I saw him. The skating was better, his IQ was better, just spacing, everything about him just got better every time I watched him. So this is a kid that I really like as well.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Caden Campion. It's a kid who's climbed a lot in the past couple of months for LA Junior Kings. He went to NTDP camp, fit in right away. He's got the mobility, he's got the size, he's athletic.
Another competitive kid.
Yeah. And the first, I thought the first day or two took him by surprise a little bit. That's quite a jump in competition. But as the week went on, he's another kid that slowly but surely got better and better and better. And at nationals, he put a statement together, and was one of the reasons they went on to win the national championship. So he's probably a power play defenseman at the next level, but he doesn't have to be. Moves really well for his size, as I said, and guy's pretty reliable with the puck. He's not trying to make home run passes or put pucks in risk. He's a pretty safe player.
Yeah, we were talking about Brain earlier. He's a kid that understands the importance of the lines. He doesn't try to force a play in the middle when he's the last guy back, or try to jam thing through a forechecker when he's at his blue lines. He makes a smart play, and he can go indirect into space or on the guy's stick, on his teammate's stick.
Next up for Fargo, they take Malachi McKinnon. This kid's an interesting player. Started out some this fall in the Minnesota Elite League. There's only, I think, I don't know, 2 or 3 07s in the Elite League, and he not only played, he played pretty well. And then I went to a tournament in the winter. I'm trying to think of where that was. And he's playing for the NEPAC tournament. He's playing for the Long Island Gold. I have no idea what transpired there, but this is a talented kid. He's one of the better players in the state of Minnesota. He's got skill. He can really shoot it. He's a guy who can score from the outside. I really like this pick for Fargo. I don't know if people kept track of him, but if you saw him in the fall, I'm trying to think of the other 2 guys. I know who's a defenseman we love that the national team took. Big kid from Benilde.
Maceo Phillips.
Maceo Phillips was one of them, and he was one of them. And somebody else, he's a balanced skater, play through traffic, can make plays in tight, gritty areas. And like I said, he can score. I like that pick a lot for Fargo. Next up, Madison takes Harper Frey. This kid just played up. He's been playing U16, U18. I haven't seen much of this kid live this year, but Ian, you've seen a little bit of him.
Yeah, he's a big kid. He's strong, 2-way D-man. He's balanced, but the thing about him is he's can be impactful at both ends of the rink. Like you said, he's been playing up, so he's used to playing against older, stronger kids. He's good in his end. He doesn't follow the puck on a pass. He stays where he's supposed to be. He maintains his box out very easily, very naturally. And then offensively, he gets the puck and he moves it, and he can jump up into the play to be a secondary asset in the rush.
It looks like Madison's trying to stay local with their picks. I mean, that's the first round pick was a Wisconsin kid, and now they followed up with a Madison kid. So,
yeah, for sure. Guys, I think we got a video here from Gavin Cornforth, so we'll take a quick 2-minute break and flash that video, and then we'll be back reading through some of the picks so you guys can catch your breath a little bit over there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm here with Gavin Cornforth as we continue on with our preview of the upcoming USHL draft in early May and talking with some of our current Fighting Saints about what their experience was like on draft day. And Gavin, for you, obviously you were a high pick early in the first round, so I imagine for you it wasn't just the Saints calling. So what was just kind of that process like when you knew that you were coming here to Dubuque?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a pretty long process. A few calls came in. One of them was Dubuque. I was really excited to receive any calls, but yeah, definitely it was really nice getting a call from Dubuque. And on my draft day, I was watching the draft, and I could see names going down the list. And I was a little worried. I didn't know where I was going to be drafted, but I got the call from Cali, and I was definitely really excited. So yeah.
What was that experience like kind of leading up to the draft for you? Did you go through the combine at all? Did you go through any of that stuff? I know we've got that actually as we're filming right now. It started today. So did you go through anything like that, or was it just, what was the pre-draft like for you?
So I didn't really go through any combine or anything like that, but I had a good camp at the USA camp, so I think that helped me out a little bit for teams to just look at me and give me a look. But then after that, yeah, it just kind of came to the draft, and I didn't really know what team I was going to go to. Some teams told me maybe they were going to draft me later on, but names just kept coming up, and then I saw my name. So yeah.
And what words of advice do you have for guys that aren't going to experience this year coming up whenever this does get posted in that USHL draft? What kind of words of advice? Because I mean, you were a high pick, so you kind of have a different experience than some of the guys we've talked to so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely being drafted is definitely a great thing, but it's not what pick you are or anything like that. Like, it's a long process. You might not be picked in the first few rounds, but you can prove yourself when you go to that camp, and no matter what, you can just play on the team. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Gavin. USHL draft coming up on May the 2nd and 3rd. Be sure to stay up to date on all of our social media pages for updates throughout USHL draft coverage.
All right, you guys catch your breath there or what?
Yeah, good to go.
Yep, for sure.
So pop up here, the next one, Chase Jett. This is a little balanced skater out of Bishop Kearney. High compete level, dog on a bone type guy, hard on the forecheck, and goes here to Waterloo, which makes, that's the way Waterloo likes to play. So that's not a surprise. He's got a good lower body strength. He's someone who can handle playing in traffic areas, even though he's smaller.
Yeah, for sure. And I know Chris Collins really well and those guys over at BK. And, I've heard nothing but great things about this kid, as a person, not only as a player, but I hear he's just a great all-around kid, very coachable, competes, is at the rink every day, just, wants to get better and loves the game. So that's super important, I think, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Next up, Cedar Rapids takes Tyler Russo, left shot defenseman out of Cushing Academy. This is a program that made it to the New England Prep School Championships, played against older players.
Played top four.
Yeah, you know this kid a lot. What's your thought on Russo?
Yeah, he's a tough, hard-nosed kid. He loves to block shots. He was in 07 playing for Cushing. They played a great schedule this year, New England Prep Hockey. He was a top four kid. I think next year, some of the run and gun guys will be off that team, and Tyler get an opportunity to really run a power play. This year, he was on the second PP, and their first power play was just dynamic and scored, or they didn't come off the ice. But he's got a very good first pass. He can hit the near guy. He can hit the far guy in a stretch play. And again, he loves to block shots, and I keep saying it, the highly competitive kids are the ones that I like, and I love this kid.
Another D who's very hard to play against, right? You're earning every piece of ice you're getting on him because he has no problem finishing his checks in the corner and making you earn your ice. If you're trying to get in the front of the net, you better be ready to take a beating from this kid. So
yeah, he's not afraid to mix it up. He's a really competitive kid, and you have to earn your ice in front of the net.
Next up, Muskegon takes Gavin Katz. This is a really skilled forward out of Shattuck St. Mary's U15s. At nationals, you could make an argument from a stick handling and quickness standpoint. One of the elite players at that tournament, among the country's best. He's a really hard player to defend against in open ice because he's creative. He plays at pace, thinks the game at pace.
He can make plays when the pucks are in his feet. He doesn't have to have the puck like in a comfort zone to make a play. He can have pucks in his feet or out extended, but he can be rolling and grinding in the corner, and the puck can be in his feet, and he can slide his bottom hand around to make that pass and then roll off contact. He's a very dynamic kid.
And he's so shifty and tight, right? Like
Yeah.
I've seen him score some goals, super in tight that I'm, super impressed how they go in the back of the net. So, yeah.
Next up, we have Des Moines takes Landon Cottingham. This is a player who played high school hockey with Hill Murray. Hill Murray's a really tough team to make when you're young. They're very deep. They have a pretty good JV team as well. And this kid played varsity, not only played, but got good minutes. He had a really strong performance at the Minnesota High Performance at the end of the year. And then I wasn't at the top 54 camp because Ian and I were in Switzerland, but our scouts gave him an A grade at that as well. This is a guy who can shut you down offensively. He's strong on his edges, powers guys off pucks. He's also got some offense to his game. He can make forecheckers miss. He's got a really crisp first pass, which is something that you're going to need in this league. You got to move pucks quickly and really zip them. I like this pick because this is a kid who can play pretty soon. He's not far off the USHL today. Next up, Sioux City takes Jack Kachowski. Figured we'd hear his name early. This is a mobile, good-sized defenseman. Play at both ends of the ice. Really athletic, covers a lot of ice, and he's committed to Nebraska Omaha. He's one of two 2007s who's NCAA committed because of the way his grades work. Played U18 this year in Northern Alberta. This is this is a steal, honestly, at 35 or 36 in the draft. Because this is a kid who might be able to contribute next year. He's that good. Really athletic. Next up, Tri-City takes Mason Jensen, another kid who out of Minnesota High School, played for Rogers High School. They had a great season this year. Didn't make it to the state tournament. They got knocked off in the sectional championships, but him and Duchesne, I think is how you pronounce it, two young 07s. You'll hear his name, I'm sure, pretty soon. But Jensen's a little bit bigger. He's a little stronger. He's got some two-way to his game. And he's another guy at that high performance camp that earned a big grade from us. He got an A at that camp. Dubuque with the next pick at 38 takes Chase Hall. On the OHL draft day, Chase Hall was a kid who just kept falling. We were like, what is going on with this kid? He's a 4.25 star. We had him, in the top 50 in our OHL draft rankings, and he kept falling and kept falling. So I was thinking maybe he's an NCAA guy. We see it here with Dubuque taking him in the third round. This was the most skilled player of the 07s in all of Ottawa. Played for Renfrew Wolves. He's got a great stick. He's got an imagination when he's got the puck on his stick. He can accept hard passes on his backhand in full stride, not have to, doesn't have any problem with that at all. He can take wobbly pucks. He's a scorer, great release. He kind of is one of these guys that pulls it a little bit to change the angle and then snaps it off. This kid, we had him as probably a second round OHL draft grade. So to get them in the third round of the USHL draft, credit to Callie Larson, he's doing his homework. That's a great pick. Green Bay up next, 39 overall. They take Nicholas Knutson, another Chicago Mission. Like I said with Caesars, Mission's the same way. Going to hear them a lot. He had a strong showing in Nationals as well. Handles the puck really well. He can shield it. He's listed at 5'9" and 150 pounds, but plays bigger than that for sure. Hard in the corners, balanced stride, kind of gets off checks, attacks the net, and he's got really nice hands and tight. Next up at 40, just kind of go quick to get back caught up here. We got a little behind. Tri-City takes Owen Chartier out of Windy City Storm. I think he was their leading scorer this year. What do you think of this guy?
He's another kid. He's got good size. He's strong on the puck. As you just said, he's the leading scorer. He understands coming in the zone to make plays and read off what's going on with his line mates. He'll attack the middle and kick wide and then drive to the net, stop on the net, and dig for rebounds and be there for it. I think he's a kid. He's got good offensive upside, and with his size, he's about 5'10", 165, 175 pounds. He's probably physically close. Next, you have Muskegon takes Kyle Hedger out of Shattuck. He's a left shot D-man. Another kid. He's got good size. He's about 6 feet, 180 pounds. The thing that stands out to me about him is he's got a sneaky good release for a D-man. His shots seem to get on the goalie in a hurry and create rebounds. He's got good feet. He jumps up in the rush. He understands to stay wide and get in the dot lane and attack the offensive zone. He'll let the forwards drive the net, and then he cuts the middle and uses his shot to fire it. He's got like I just said a couple of times, he's got a quick, sneaky shot, and it almost looks like he expects it to go in, and he's not afraid to shoot it up high.
Yeah, I just saw him a couple of weeks ago. He's really balanced too on his edges, and he's a guy who kind of runs guys off pucks. He doesn't have to go for the big hit. He just kind of rubs them out along the wall, just kind of drives them off with his edges. Good backward skater. I like Heger's game. I think he translates well.
Yeah.
Muskegon picks again back-to-back here. They go Jacob Eilers, Chicago Mission forward. This kid's one of these small, quick twitch, tough to defend in open ice kind of guys.
Puck possession.
Yeah, definitely puck possession guy. Quick decision maker. I like his game. He's creative. He gets to space really quickly, and he's someone that's got a quick processor. He doesn't need to overhandle it or wait for things to open. He kind of makes it happen on his own. So nice quick twitch guy. I think his quickness will make up for his lack of size.
Yeah, and every time I watched him, Ian and Brendan, he's just a driver of offense, right? Like when the puck's on his stick, he's always driving and pushing the pace on the other team, and creating scoring chances for himself when, sometimes you think there's nothing to be created, and he just drives that offense all the time for that Mission team.
Yeah, he's good at rolling off contact and attacking the seams in the offensive zone. He'll go. He's not afraid to go into the corner first to pick up the puck, and he can accept the contact on his back, and then he uses his edges to power out and either roll behind the net or roll up high through the top of the circles. But he's definitely a puck possession guy, and as you just said, he drives the offense.
Next up, we have Travis Lafair for Waterloo. Comes out of Fox Motors. Fox Motors had a deceptively good team this year. They didn't make nationals. I saw them at the Michigan State tournament, but he was their best player consistently. He's got a quick first step. But what I like about his game is he's not afraid to go into dirty areas. It's kind of a trait a lot of Michigan players have, but he plays with some grit. He scores tough goals, but he can also score some finesse goals. Like his feet a lot. I think he's someone that can pull away, but he also can withstand contact, pretty balanced on his edges, and he plays a pretty complete game. So I like that pick for Waterloo for LaFair.
Chicago, you have him taking Blake Vanek. He's about, what, 5-6 inches bigger than some of the other picks right now. He's 6'3", probably about 185 pounds, 190. He's a kid this year. I thought he was going to get an NTDP bid for camp. He can protect the puck for a long time and hold it. And while he's got his body protected between the defender and the puck, he's got his eyes up looking over everybody. He's a big kid. He's strong. He can attack the net. He's got smooth hands. He can handle hard passes on his backhand, which is obviously a huge skill and a huge advantage to have. I would think with Chicago's style of play, he's going to fit in there really well. I think this is a great pick right here.
Yeah, Vanek's got as high a ceiling as anyone we've seen probably the last 20 picks. Obviously, he's son of an NHLer, but more than that, we had him ranked really high in our midterms. He came down a little bit. What I think Vanek is right now is a player who's got a lot of tools. He's got a long, fluid stride. He can handle the puck. He's got some power. He's got some finesse. I think he just hasn't figured out what he is yet. Once he does that, this is a special player, not only for the USHL, but this kid's got NHL upside. Not just because he's 6'3", but because he's very athletic. He understands time and space. He makes plays that not many kids at 07s are making, showing a maturity to his game and a versatility. I just don't think he's figured out exactly what he is.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 07. There's not many of them out there, and there's not many that can move the way he can move. I think he's a kid that can, 2 years from now, you're going to say, "Holy cow, this kid is he's going to be up for the draft."
Yep.
An NHL draft. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in this mix to be a high pick there too.
Next up, Chicago had the picks again. They take Shane Gould, small puck-moving defenseman. Another guy we talked earlier, I forget what we were talking about, but it said he was a breakout machine. Bongo. Gould is similar in that regard. He's quick back to pucks. He makes clever escape moves to get off the forecheck and then moves it quickly. He's probably not going to put up a ton of points. He's under 130 pounds at this point. So you're betting for him for the long term. But he's got a good hockey sense. He's got quick feet.
He's got a ton of poise. He moves really well laterally. He's the kind of kid that if he gets a loose puck in the neutral zone, he can back off with a forechecker coming at him full blast, and he can look him off and do an escape, and then end up on the offensive side of that forechecker very quickly. His passes are hard and flat. He's still going to gain some strength, coming in at 5'6.5" and 130 pounds. So, but again, he fits Chicago's mold perfectly with the puck possession, moving it, and then jumping into space.
Next up for Tri-City, they take Ryan White. Ryan White's one of my favorite players in the draft. He's an Ontario kid who came down and played for Pittsburgh. You'll notice Pittsburgh youth program, the Penn's Elite, they have probably 5-6 Canadians every year. Do a really nice job over there. And they get kids from out west. They get kids from the Midwest. They've got something building down there. Ryan White is a highly intelligent, skilled puck-moving defenseman. He was drafted late by Ottawa 67's, his local team, in the OHL draft. If he had wanted to go that route, he's got a second, third round grade. I think he's a steal here in the fourth round to Tri-City. This is the way he handles the puck, his passing ability, his ability to see the whole ice, find the lane, and move it quick. Ryan White's an exceptional pick here in the fourth round.
Yeah, I agree. He moves the puck really well. He's like you said, he's balanced. He skates well. He retrieves the puck well. He can gain the net and make the pass. Then he jumps into the space. Every time I saw him play this year, I thought he was, arguably the most impactful kid on the ice.
And I thought he was outstanding at 15 nationals as well. I thought that was, kind of the peak when I saw him. I saw him throughout the year, but he did everything the right way. Every time he was on the ice, I always noticed him. He had a real good 15U nationals. So, great pick by Jason Kohler and Anthony Noreen with Tri-City.
Yeah, I agree with you, Frank. We had him as like a 3.75, 4-ish, which would be like probably a third, fourth, fifth round grade. And then nationals, U15 nationals, he took a whole other step. I was there to watch Villeneuve, who's a high Q draft pick, likely, and I just couldn't take my eyes on it. White was, outperformed him, and he was outstanding. So nice pick there. 47th overall, Youngstown takes Carter Murphy, actually a Texas prospect. Played up with the U16s this year, a really talented U16 team. Ian, what do you think of Murphy?
He's an undersized kid. He's quick. He can move laterally really well. He's another, we talked about earlier with Cooper Dennis. He gets underneath the defenseman's leverage and then beats him into the open ice. His lateral quickness and his brain is what allows him to be the pick here. He can suck defenders to him, pass it through their feet, and then jump by him into the open space. He's a give and go kind of kid. I think it's a good pick. Like you said, that Dallas Stars team was a very good team, and he's a highly skilled kid.
Good puck moving defenseman, real shifty and tight, right? Like similar. I feel like we've been saying this a lot this draft, but it's becoming more and more the norm, right? Is the undersized puck moving, shifty defensemen that have the ability to jump up in the rush and create offense for their teams. And I think Carter Murphy's one of the players that can do that for sure.
Yeah, transition's it. I mean, he can get underneath the guys and get into space. He's a very good passer.
Next up, Sioux Falls takes Mason Kraft. This kid out of Moorhead High School had a really good season this year as an 07. Then really started to take off. I thought, he had a good USHL showcase. He played with, I think, what's the team there? The Blades.
Yeah.
He had a strong start there. Then he went to high school, had a big year for freshman, averaged over a point a game for Moorhead High School. And then at Minnesota High Performance, he was outstanding. We gave him an A grade there. Our scouts gave him an A- grade at top 54 camp. I think he's just been climbing up draft boards. What makes him the player is he's strong enough to play in the USHL next year. I don't know if they need him to, but he's got that balance, that powerful stride. He can get to the crease. He's not afraid to take hits to make plays. He's a balanced, not just a balanced skater, but plays a balanced game. 200-foot player is really hard on the forecheck. So I like this pick a lot because he's versatile. He can be a first-line winger and score and make plays for you, and he can also be a fourth-line, tough, rugged, high-compete forward. So like that pick. Next up, Danny Clares. Been watching this kid since he was a Bantam. High IQ defenseman.
You've been talking about him forever.
Yeah, just and we have him. Actually, I think later than this. So credit to Muskegon, but really high IQ. He's a Minnetonka kid. Minnetonka is a very talented high school program in Minnesota. So for him to get up there and play minutes early, and again, I keep going back to Minnesota High Performance Camp. It's where you find a lot. He graded out as an A there. Same thing, A- at the top 54 camp. He's cerebral. He gets pucks to his forwards in transition. He's not the biggest guy, but he reads the attack. Always got a stick in the right lanes. He gaps up correctly. He's a really talented player. I think that's a good value there in the 4th round for Muskegon. And next up, Ian, this is your guy.
This is my guy.
Jacob Lynch.
Yeah, I love this
from
kid.
Omaha.
Yeah, I love this kid. He can absolutely fly. He buzzes. He's creative. He makes plays. He can shoot it. He's a kid. He can be F1 on the forecheck, going, bang a body, and then 5 seconds later he's F1 on the back check and taking care of what he needs to do down low in his end. He absolutely can screw in a straight line. I mean, he is. I'm a huge fan of this kid. I wanted him to get invited to national camp or to NTDP camp so badly because I thought it was the type of play where he would shine. I've been talking about this kid since.
Yeah.
I mean, I love him. We've got notes on him, and all it always says is Ian loves.
Yeah. One of Ian's boys.
Hey, USHL Combine kid too. We love that too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Next up, Muskegon at 51 takes Cam Karen. This kid played New Hampton prep school. Again, helps when some of these guys, a lot of the guys drafted so far have been age-specific midget players, which is great. But when you see a kid having success at the high school level, it shows you they can play against older, stronger competition. Cam Karen's a kid that when we watch him in the fall and last year as a Bantam, he's the kind of guy that the better the competition, the better he plays.
Yes.
And he's got a power game. He can score. Big season this year at New Hampton. What'd you think of Karen?
So in the fall, he was playing U16, and I thought he was doing pretty well. You could tell, that he was out there. He was big. He was long. He was looking to make plays. And then I thought as soon as he got to New Hampton, I thought his game changed. He added a little bit of edge. He was blocking shots. I went up and saw them play Tilton, and Tilton was a team that had a bunch of PGs. I think they had 18 or so on their roster, and they were gunning on him because he's a younger kid. He's a big kid. He's long and he's lanky. But as that game went on, New Hampton came back, and he was a real difference maker in that. Like I said, he was blocking shots. He was laying down to eat them. He was good through transition. He was great with attacking the middle and dishing wide and then getting to the net. This kid has big time upside.
Next up, we've got Quinn McKenzie, so almost the polar opposite of Cam Karen. He's up 5'4", late birth year. This guy is so quick, dynamic.
Fearless going to the net.
Fearless.
I mean, we were watching him for a couple of years, and there's times when he was little and you think he's going to get run over, and he just lowers his shoulder and he gets to where he needs to do. He can really pass on his backhand. He sucks guys to him and throws little sauce over sticks or through the triangle. Every time you watch him play, he's a kid that makes an impact in the game, and at both ends of the ice, he's competitive, and he's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, Chicago's had a lot of success with undersized forwards. But I'll tell you, at U14s, when he was playing Bantams at the Nationals, our scout there, Brian Murphy, usually would be with us today, but he's got a little bit of an injury he's working through. He said there's not that much separating him and Mooney. Mooney's, a kid on the U.S. national team and a very talented player in his own right. But McKenzie is similar.
They're
very small, similar. But they're quick. They're smart. They make guys around them better.
They change pace. They move really well laterally. They're deceptive. They make it look like they're leaning one way, they don't even move the puck. They just look and lean heavy and then bang off the inside edge or going the other way.
Yep. So if you know Mooney, you're getting a similar type player with Quinn McKenzie.
And another player who can drive offense, right, guys? Like when the puck's on his stick, he makes everybody else around him look better. He'll fit Chicago's mold perfectly. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, Dubuque takes Sean Barnhill. This kid who really started climbing draft boards in the second half of this season. So a good lesson to guys and I'm not saying he didn't start out the season well either. I'm just saying this is a kid you didn't hear about on draft boards until probably January. And then he shot up so high, maybe got invited to national camp and held his own. We actually thought he played better than most of the kids against that U17 team.
I thought he did really well.
He showed some punch back a little bit.
I noticed him at NTDP camp on the first day in practice when they were doing the 3-on-3s or the small little games, and he wasn't backing down from anybody. He was giving kidney shots and cross checks and battling. He's a kid. He's got big upside. He's a little over 6'2", 175 pounds. So more weight is coming. He's a righty. I thought at national camp, he did really well. And that you just said against the 17s, I thought he did himself great. I thought he was competitive. He won battles. He started breakouts and showed a great stick.
Yeah, for sure. Really athletic. That's what I like about it. His size to move the way he does. Next up, Green Bay at number 54 takes Niles Benson out of Buffalo Junior Sabres. He's another kid who's been trending up and up as the season's gone on. Big power forward. He really snaps a pass. One of the guys that has a maturity to his game that when he moves the puck, he immediately works to get open again and fill the lane. He doesn't just sit back and admire the pass. And he's a player who's consistent, shift in, shift out, which is very important for this league. He's got some bite to his game. If there's a loose puck, he's going to fight to get it, which is going to fit Green Bay's style. So I think that's a pick that makes a lot of sense. Next up, Madison. Again, they seem to really be pulling for the locals. Drew Bowe. Love to compete on this kid.
Yeah.
He's been injured a little bit this season, but he had a big season at Chippewa Falls High School in Wisconsin, and relentless on the puck. Forechecks really hard. And then he's not just an energy guy. Once he gets possession of the puck, this kid can make plays. Head's always up, plays a game at pace, thinks it at pace, and is another skilled passer.
He's a little undersized, but he's super strong on his feet. He can withstand contact. He's got good edges where he keeps his hips down and pushes through it to get to the open ice or get to the net. As you just said, when he's got the puck, he's looking to make plays. That's a good pick. Another local for Madison.
Yeah, so we talked earlier about how haven't been on the job very long. Andy Brandt there, but pretty solid draft so far for Madison.
Yeah.
And getting a lot of them right in his backyard, which helps. Next one up here, we've got Griffin Brown. Griffin Brown's offensive defenseman out of the San Jose Junior Sharks. Led the team in scoring, I believe. Over a point a game kid as a defenseman. Pretty impressive. This guy, we have him a little lower on our board, but just because we didn't see him play a lot in some of the bigger tournaments. San Jose wasn't as strong a team this year. They have a very good program, obviously. But this kid can really move the puck. Skilled on the power play, heads always up, finds ways to create lanes and get puck on net. And he's one of those guys in your with he's always shooting the puck like 2 or 3 inches off the ice.
Yeah.
Gives a lot of rebounds, and he can also score. He's a legit scoring threat from the blue line.
Yeah. Then Youngstown takes Dylan Lorette from Shattuck. He played U16. He's a really steady kid, and I mean this is the biggest compliment. He's a kid that you don't notice a lot because he just does the right play and the simple play. It's the kind of play that translates into higher levels. At NTDP camp, he scored a nice goal on the last day, a wrist shot up under the bar. He's a very steady, strong, two-way kid. He takes care of his end. He clears shooting lanes. He stays on the defensive side of the puck or the net side of the puck during battles. He doesn't drift. He knows where he's supposed to be. He defends with his stick on the ice. He's not parallel. He's got his blade on the ice. He's looking to tip passes and get pucks out of the way. He played U16 and was very offensive-minded. I would think this year that if he's playing U16 again or if he's up with the 18s, he'd probably try to have a little bit more of an offensive impact. But he's a kid that I would like for a long time.
Next up, we've got Savin Verk, drafted by Sioux City at 58. It's too bad our friend Murph isn't here because he would love this kid. He is tough, direct, physical, two-way player. He's already played, some games junior this year with Chilliwack. But this is a kid who had a first, second, third round draft grade for us last year in the Bantam draft for the Western League. We put him on our players to watch list for this draft because he didn't sign. Yeah. Most of the top 3-round kids in the Western League are signed by now. He hadn't signed. So I think that's could be a pretty good value. If you can get this kid to come, Sioux City's getting a steal here because this kid can play junior hockey today. This isn't a project. This is he played U18s this year at EL Hockey Academy in the CSSHL, which is probably the best U18 league in North America. 47 points in 29 games, almost a goal a game. Really stood out in the playoffs, which is where we saw him. But yeah, two-way player. This guy's tough. He can score. Great pick for a USHL team.
The next we have Cedar Rapids taking Everett Baldwin. He's a right shot D-man who played for St. George's this year. He moves the puck really well. He's a good skater. I think what people might not realize is he's got some mean in him. I saw him play a few times this year where he had the biggest hits in the game, and they were in open ice. He's got excellent timing and excellent footwork to step up on passes like that. He passes the puck hard. He can throw sauce cross ice and hit his weak side wing in stride. He's got offensive upside. I think last year he was arguably the top D-man at St. George's as an 07. I think this year there's not going to be much doubt he's going to probably play 25 minutes a night. He's got a long, fluid stride, and like I said, he's got some edge to his game that you don't expect because he looks like he's light, but man, does he have some timing to step up in the middle.
What surprised me about him too, Ian, was just how responsible he was defensively, playing prep school as an 07, right? That was something that just really impressed me. It was just how responsible he was on the back end for them.
Yeah, at the Christmas tournaments or the holiday tournaments for Tabor, I went and watched him play, and it was shocking to me when you see an 07 that is just winning battle after battle in front of his own net, and he wasn't just getting pushed around and tying up sticks. He was driving guys out of the way and then winning the puck, the loose puck or the rebound battle and starting transition. And he's got an easy stride, but he gets up to top speed very quickly. This is a good pick here. I think he'll go back to St. George's next year. He'll go to camp this summer. He'll do really well at camp because he skates well and he's sneaky strong. This is a good pick here by Cedar.
Next up, they go again, Cedar Rapids back to back. They take Lucas Simus out of the Mercer Chiefs. I hadn't seen this kid until I think February. But our scout down there really likes him. He's a veteran scout and he really knows what he's doing. And he said, keep an eye on this guy. He's not a player that jumps out at you, like you had said earlier about LeBret.
Yep.
But he's very sturdy, makes all high percentage player, and hard to get around. And when I saw him for the first time, that's exactly what he was. He's really strong. He's got great core and lower body strength, drives guys off pucks, and he plays a junior style game now. He's physical. He boxes out in front of his net. His stick is in the right areas.
He's thick. For a young kid, he's thick.
Yeah. Keeps his eyes on the chest, doesn't get distracted trying to chase pucks. I think Simeos is a kid who can play in this league earlier rather than later.
All right, I think it's a good time to give you guys a little bit of break. We've been buzzing through some picks here. So we got a video queued up of Michael Hagens from Chicago talking about, his experience in the league and the draft. So we'll let you guys take a quick 2-minute break and then we'll get back to it.
Michael, you were selected by the Steel in the 2021 USHL Draft. Did you follow along as the draft was taking place? And if so, what was it like to see your name called?
Yeah, I was following along. When I got drafted, they called me and told me I was selected. So, yeah, it was cool.
You're committed to play for Harvard. How important has it been for your development as a player to spend this year in the USHL?
Playing for this organization, it's been very special. They do a great job of developing players.
What's it been like to play for the Chicago Steel, the team, and the coaches?
It's been awesome. Everyone here is great, and it's special to be a part of this organization.
Yeah.
You like to get him as 3-5.
Okay, perfect. I think we're starting off the 5th round here.
Yeah, start off with Dexter Brooks out of St. Louis Junior Blues. This is a small, nimble, heady, puck-moving defenseman. Liked him a lot last summer. Is when I first saw him play at the U.S. National Camp in Buffalo, New York. And ever since then, he's gotten better and better. He's not the biggest guy at this point, listed at 5'7", 125. I think he's bigger than that. That might be an old height weight, but a right shot D who can really read the play, make quick decisions, and move pucks. So Brooks, another for Madison.
Yeah.
Missouri's probably the furthest away they've taken a kid, but just isn't that far. But skilled player.
Next, Chicago takes Ethan Wittenbach from the U15 Long Island Gulls. This kid can really skate. He's fast. He's powerful. He's got a wide skating base, but his edges hit the ice flat. He's strong on the puck. He plays with his eyes up, looking to make plays. He can drive the defenseman off the defensive blue line when he's coming up, and he has no problem spinning back to create space for himself or delaying a cut to the middle. He's a kid. He's a highly skilled kid. He looks to make plays. Has him here as 5'8", 170. I didn't know he weighed that much. I would have thought he was lighter, and I would just say he was really strong on his feet because he can withstand contact pretty easily.
I was at Nationals this year watching this kid, and then the first game, I forget who they were playing, but must have been more focused on the other team because I had 2 college guys in the lobby say, "What'd you think of Wittenbach?" And I was like, he's okay. They both looked at me like, "Okay, what are you talking about?" He's the best kid on the team. So the next game, I really watched him. He's the real deal.
He's another
smart.
one of Murph's favorites. Murph loves this kid.
Yeah, direct, but he's smart. He's another guy that I think could play junior hockey sooner rather than later.
Very soon. Yeah. He's strong. He's sneaky strong. Like I said, he's 170. He doesn't look 170. He looks light, but he's surprisingly strong. So this means that he's gonna be able to put some weight on and maintain pace. So it's a good pick here.
Next up at 63, Sioux Falls takes Finn D. St. Hubert, big body defenseman out of Wayzata High School. Had a really strong season this year. He's a very mature player. Doesn't try to make the fancy play, makes the high percentage play. And then at Minnesota High Performance, he was outstanding. He's one of the better shutdown defensemen in the draft. Like I said, he's not a lot of frills to his game, but he's a very honest player. He's got a good stick. He breaks up a lot of passes, moves pretty well for his size, and has a physicality without getting out of position or trying to make the home run hit. Next up from Muskegon, this is one of my favorite kids in the draft, Reese Lance, big right shot physical defenseman of Milwaukee Junior Admirals. Now this kid played up a level with the U16s this year. And what really jumped out to me was he was one of the toughest guys on the ice in the games he played. He's also he gets seen for how well he is defensively and how he handles or how he skate. But this kid also has some offense to his game. A little deceptive, I think, because he's playing against older kids. But if he was playing U15s, this is a point a game kid. I like the value here. We have him, right around the spot in our board as well. Because he's versatile. He can do just about anything. He can kill penalties. He blocks shots. Has a fearless approach. And like I said, deceptive skill and mobility. Next up at 65, Des Moines takes Luke Norcross. Norcross is a kid who had a really strong nationals. I think he climbed the list. A really fluid skater, skilled puck handler. And he's another guy who's pretty balanced in his stride. He can make plays in open ice. He can make plays in the dirty areas. And he was on that top line with Kevin that made it to the national championship game and then won. So next up at 66, Sioux City takes Bjorn Bronas, goaltender out of Chicago Mission. One of our top 3-4 goalies in the country.
Yep.
Probably the best one that's not on the national team. Really fluid. He's balanced. This is the first goalie off the board. It's not surprising.
His great anticipation. He doesn't get caught off guard when there's a Royal Road pass or he's very well prepared. He scans the ice. He sees what's going on. He sees the layers to the attack. If the puck is in the left corner, he's looking quickly to see if the other team's left D-man is coming back door. If the puck's to his left, looking to see if that team's left defenseman is coming back door. He's very quick laterally. He's got good size. He's strong. He can withstand contact at the top of the crease and still finish shots from the point. He's a kid we've been watching for a couple of years. I think first goalie off the board here. I think he is the best kid not on the national team.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. What impressed me about him was his ability to read the play. And like you said, I've seen him make a bunch of unreal lateral saves. He's anticipating and reading, that pass across the Royal Road, as you mentioned. And I've seen him make some really, really good saves laterally. So, I like this pick. This is a good pick, first goalie off the board for sure.
Another thing that he does well for a young goalie, if there's a dump in or there's something close to him, he gets the puck and he leaves it where his defenseman can pick it up on their forehand. And it seems like such a little thing, but it creates transition so quickly because the defenseman isn't coming back and getting jammed on his backhand and trying to pull the puck out of his feet. He leaves the puck on the forehand so they can make a play and create the outlets or the breakout passes very, very quickly.
Next up for Fargo takes Graham Jones out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Played for Shattuck St. Mary's this year. In his draft year, he actually played for Rink Hockey Academy. Was another in Winnipeg, which is the top program there. And Shattuck, obviously, probably the top program in the U.S. So he's had good coaching. He's played a lot of high-level places. Jones was another kid on our list because he hasn't signed in the Western League, which opens the door there. Another kid that, if you can get this kid, he's a steal at this level on the draft. Played for the Shattuck U15 team. Was one of their top players. Handles the puck really well. He's a smart player. Gets in on the forecheck. I'm just reading some of the notes from Nationals. Quick change of direction. Handles bad passes well. Surveys the ice. Makes quick reads. And a high pace attacker. So nice pick there for Gary Eads and the Fargo Force.
Next, we have Dubuque taking Gavin Locke. He's a good size left wing. He's got some real bite to his game. He can put up points, but he's got some jam. He finishes his checks, and after contact, he beats the defenseman into the open ice and beats him to the front of the net, and then he plants himself there. And he's looking to screen. He's not just standing off on the side looking for a tip. He takes the goalie's eyes away. He's strong. He's competitive. He's a kid. He's probably closer to playing in the USHL than he's not.
Totally.
He's got some bite to his game too, which is very, very nice.
What I like about him too, Ian, is his ability. I think we talked about a couple players earlier, but he moves the puck and he gets to open space immediately, and that's what I like about him being a big body. He wins his battle, moves the puck, and then he's not standing around watching. He's creating time and space for himself. So that's what I really like about Gavin Locke.
Yeah.
Yeah, Locke he's one of my favorite kids in the draft, and it's always interesting. Neutral Zone, we have Canadian scouts and U.S. scouts, and Little Caesars played a lot north of the border this year, and our Ontario scouts kept saying, "This is the kid." We've already seen 3, 4, 5 kids from them drafted, and some guys on the national team, and they kept saying, "Gavin Locke, Gavin Locke, Gavin Locke." And at nationals, he showed it, and just what you guys said. He's got a two-way element to his game. He's mature. He stops on pucks. He supports the puck in his D zone. This kid's we call a hockey player. I think he's the real deal, and I think at 68, I would have had Gavin Locke as a top 50 player. So I think
he's close to playing. He's going to go to camp, and he's going to do very well.
Next up, Omaha takes Jackson Herchak. This is a strong, balanced, tough to play against forward. He's versatile. We had him high in his Western League draft year out of Warren Wildcats. I haven't seen him this season, only on video, but in his Bantam year, liked how well he handled the puck and his passing. Crisp, hard, accurate, right on the tape. He's good on the breakout. And he's got a smooth, powerful stride, skates well backwards, and accelerate from a standstill. So Herchak is a nice pick here out of Western Canada. Next up, Holden Carter, right shot D out of Chicago Mission.
No, he's a good sized kid. He's strong on puck. He moves the puck quickly. Again, he's a player that it seems to be that the defensemen here that they move the puck well and they create transitions. It's not necessarily the kid that goes end to end, but they're the kid that can win the battle in the defensive zone and make that 5 to 10 foot pass to create transition. I think he certainly falls into that category.
Yeah, for sure. I think Holden Carter's a really athletic kid. He had a strong performance at nationals. He gaps up really well because of his mobility and his athleticism. Covers a lot of ice. Carter's a kid who you're only seeing the very beginning of what this kid can be.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Brendan, at nationals, I was really impressed with his ability to break up plays before the other team entered, his defensive zone, and then the way he just kind of transitioned the puck, like you said, he's super mobile and athletic. So those are the two biggest assets that I saw out of him at nationals.
Yeah, and I'll go back to this as we talked about the 08s earlier in the draft. What advice would you give? One thing is your team performance matters a lot. You've heard us say countless times, Minnesota State Championship, New England Prep School playoffs, U15 Nationals has probably been mentioned the most. Good teams get seen a lot, so it's important to worry about your team success, because if you have a good team, you're going to get seen a lot. It doesn't mean you have to go play on all-star teams. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying take care of your team and try to win games because we're seeing players on winning teams are getting drafted.
Management and coaches want winners.
Yeah.
I mean, winning is a skill. You can go to skill coaches and work on your toe drags and your sauce, but winning and competitiveness is a skill. And I think that's why you're seeing the kids, for winning programs being taken.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, another NTDP invite. KJ Sauer goes to Lincoln here. Played at Andover High School, won the state championship the year before. Pretty balanced skater, works hard. He's got a hard shot, deceptive skill, and he's just got to work on getting a little quicker. NTP, I think that the pace was hard for him, but he's definitely got the balance and the size.
He's in October, almost end of October.
Oh, so late birth year.
So he's young and he's big. He's October 24th, 6'1", 175. So that's a big young kid. So I actually agree with you. I thought in national camp, or an NTDP camp, I thought the first day or so he looked almost a little bit overwhelmed. But as it went on, he gained his confidence. He got strong. He's a kid that being in October and being that big, his foot speed is going to come, and when it does, he's going to be a very, very impactful kid.
Absolutely. Next up, Youngstown takes Evan Jardine, another late birth here, out of Detroit Little Caesars. Small, skilled,
highly competitive kid.
Yeah, really competitive.
Go motor.
Not afraid to go into tough ice. He's maneuvers through traffic areas really well. Really liked his game at nationals. And like you said, his motor, that's probably my favorite part of his game.
Yeah.
Gets in on forechecks. He's a pain to break pucks out against. He can kill penalties. He can not run a power play, but play the half wall in the power play. And he's tough enough. He'd want to get to the net.
Oh yeah.
That's probably not where he should be, but he's got the grit.
He's fearless to get to the top of the crease, and he stays there. And he's got the balance to battle bigger, stronger guys. He's been that way for since I started watching him. That he's got a go motor, and he gets to the net, and he's looking to cause havoc.
Next up, Omaha takes Brady Cray. This was our highest rated goaltender at the Minnesota High Performance Camp. You always hear people say, "Oh, the goalie's really athletic," like it's kind of a cop out. But this kid's smooth, really smooth movements, and that allows you to make difficult saves look easy. And if you talk to goalie guys, they'll say that's the best compliment you can get, as they make the game look easy. Really good footwork. He swallows up rebounds. I'm not a great goalie scout, so I'll just keep it to what I know. But that's what I know from him. He's just a really mobile, really good footwork, athletic goalie. He's flexible and doesn't give up a lot of rebounds. Next up, Chicago takes Henry Major out of Rochester Coalition. Know this kid, Ian? Just gonna look up my notes on
I actually do not.
Henry Major. Okay. We've seen a lot at the USHL Fall Classic. You got a B, highly athletic left shot winger, smooth in transition. His speed and his shiftiness is his best asset. High pace player, calm and patient with the puck under duress, and has a good balance and edge control to come out of scrums with the puck. Looks like he had a B+ at the state tournament. So thanks to the Neutral Zone Scouts, Ed Biesinger and Russ Bitely for those.
Yeah, and I had a chance to see him at the American Cup too, and he was the guy for that Rochester Coalition U15 team. He drove a lot of the offense. He wanted the puck on his stick. He demanded the puck on his stick, and he competed hard. Every single game that I saw. So I think this is a good pick by Chicago. And I believe they have Charlie Major too. Yeah, someone just posted that there. Charlie Major's little brother. So keeping it within the family there.
Oh, nice. Next up, Fargo takes Mason West. Fargo's took a couple shots here already. Mason West may have been, a national camp. He might have been the 13th, 14th guy.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this kid. He's big. He's athletic. We heard that he's in his age group the top quarterback, right?
Yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, you can see that by how he makes plays on the ice. He has no panic, and he can keep his head up. He keeps his chest high, and he makes the pass. I think he's a very, very athletic kid whose best hockey days are ahead of him, without a doubt.
Yeah, the only reason he's probably falling, I would think, Ian, is because football, they don't know if he'll play hockey. But this is a guy who, if we were picking, I think you'd say it too. He's on the national team.
Yeah,
making the team.
I'm a big fan of
The ceiling's really high.
He's a kid you want to work with. If you're a development coach, you want to be on the ice with this kid because of his athleticism and his size. Like he's got NHL written on him with the 6'2", 160. He's still light. He's lean, but he's got long, and he really sees the plays develop, and he takes his time before making a pass. He doesn't just fire it in someplace. He lets his guys get to where they're going, and he has a touch on the pass too.
Yeah, and he was someone that against the U17 team that's where I think for us we really appreciated his game there because he can play as well against pace and high physical elements that he does against kids his own age. Not many kids you can say that about. Also, just to note, like Edina High School, it's very rare for freshmen to play. It's a really tough place for underage players, and he was playing top 6 minutes most of the season on a really good team. And he stood out during the state tournament. So Mason West, if Fargo can get him, he's a first-round talent. Going to in the 5th round. So Kerry's got his work cut out for him there. Madison, same thing with Egan Beveridge. If you can get Egan Beveridge to come to Madison, there's another kid, 1st, 2nd round grade. Great compete level, hard worker, but he's got a lot of skill. He's one of the few finesse guys that's got high level finesse that backs it up with equal, if not more, grit and bite to his game. So a really nice dynamic there for Beveridge. He was outstanding at the U15 Nationals.
Yeah, and then a couple weekends ago, he was great at the New England Player Development Camp. He was very impactful. He's looking to make plays. His snapshot is a missile. Creates rebounds. It seems to get on the goalies very quickly. He's a highly, highly competitive kid who is an absolute pain in the butt to play against. He if you go after one of his teammates, he's coming to get you. He's got an edge to his game that is great. He's a kid that makes a difference in a game. You don't leave a game when Beveridge is playing and wonder if he played. You have no doubt that he was on the ice because he's impacting at both ends.
Yeah, I agree. Just to piggyback off what you guys were saying, what impressed me the most and what I love about his game is the combo of skill and grit, right? Like he can make plays with the puck on his stick, but he's also hard to play against and he won't back down from anybody. So I saw that at 15 Nationals and, that's what I loved from him and, what I love about his game.
Next up, out of South Kent School, Drew Allison, good size, 6'1", left shot D. He graded high for us in the Canada Winter Games. Not the most, he does have offensive ability. He didn't put up any points there, but he does have offensive ability. But right now he's a bit lanky, but he's really athletic. He's got a good stride to him. Handles the puck pretty well. He's someone that can handle kind of wobbly pucks and picks them clean off the wall on retrievals. Long reach. He's tough to penetrate against offensively. This is a kid who's got a high ceiling. We have him ranked highly in our QMJHL draft rankings. So like some guys we mentioned earlier, if this kid goes the USHL route, you're getting good value here because he's probably got a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round grade for the QMJHL draft. Next up, Sam Schulte, right shot defenseman out of Mounds View. Sioux Falls took this kid, had another very impressive Minnesota high performance camp. I didn't see Mounds View play this season, so I didn't see him at the high school level. I only saw him at high performance, but he graded out highly as well. He got an A- at the top 54 camp. So skill with the puck, smooth skater, and kind of a playmaker. You don't say that much about defensemen, but this kid is one. The offense seems to facilitate through him. Even at a high performance camp where the kids don't know each other and you're playing different kids from different schools and different teams. Even on the power plays there, they seem to run through him. He's got a lot of confidence with the puck. He's poised, doesn't force it. It makes a lot of plays. Next up, Tri-City takes Bodie Leyland. Late birth year, right shot defenseman out of North Star Christian. His dad is coach of St. Thomas.
Yep.
And then brother played in the league, I believe. Or no, I think the brother played in the USH or the BCHL.
Yeah.
But he might be the best in the family least at this stage. He moves pucks really well. He's smart. He's heady. He makes a quick first pass. Moves up to his the quick outlets, and he's small, undersized, but he's quick onto you. So he closes his gaps really quickly. He forces guys outside. He's got a clever stick for poke checks. Next up, with the 80th pick, Des Moines takes Gus Thorpe. Really like Gus Thorpe. This kid could be a bit of a hidden gem. Played for Team Wisconsin, so they were at nationals, so it probably isn't that hidden. But last summer in Buffalo, this kid really, I think we gave him an A- grade as one of the higher defensemen. He's just a little bit raw. He's another guy who probably hasn't quite figured out what he is yet. But he's athletic. He covers a ton of ice. He's got a good stick. He pushes the puck up ice too. He likes to skate out of his own end. He can run a power play. He's got a heavy shot. Just needs to sharpen up a little bit of the decision making, but a high ceiling prospect for Des Moines. Next up, Mason Minsky out of the Chicago Reapers. Just pulling up my notes. I just saw these guys a couple months ago. They didn't make it out of Illinois to the Nationals, but he was at Expo. That's where we saw him, Exposure Cup. Strong on his edges. He's got good speed. Just reading my notes here. A little bit. Our scout says he's a little bit slimy to him because he can make guys miss. He challenges defenders one-on-one. Quick inside-out move and cuts to the net. And defensively, he does a good job killing penalties and clogging lanes with a good defensive stick. That was from Andrew Serpico.
Another combine kid too.
Oh, another combine guy.
Oh yeah.
We actually this year Ian and I couldn't make it to the combine because we were in Switzerland, but I go to that religiously because the nice thing about the combine is you get to see kids that you might not have seen as much. I remember one year we saw a kid out of Seattle, Snow Kings or something. That was outstanding. We've seen guys out of California. I mean, it brings kids from all over the country. So we get a lot of value out of going to that event. Who's next?
Next, we have Cedar Rapids takes Jason Musa, an undersized forward out of Trinity Pauling School. This one I'm going to read Coach Murph's report because I remember him talking about him from the Avon Old Farms Christmas tournament. This is Murph's favorite tournament to go to, but this is what he's got. It says Musa was asked to do a lot and played quality minutes as an 07. He took the first shot in the shootout against Loomis. It showed the TP staff believe in his ability. He was one of the smartest players at Avon as he moved to great spots without the puck and made smart passes on the tape to his teammates who had a chance to make the next play. He saw the play beyond the play and also avoided direct contact with fleet feet and excellent edge work. His hand-eye coordination was great, and he picked pucks from air and off the wall with ease. He played with high compete and back down to no one. He looked small but did not play that way. As he grows, strengthens, he will be someone to watch. He played at the end of a 2-1 game, and he is getting experience on the job. Showed sleek feet, slick stick, and worked and played smart hockey. He has a high ceiling. Thanks, Coach Murph. We wish you were here.
Yeah, Musa's the third brother of the group. One's at Dartmouth, or are they both at Dartmouth? But he comes
from Cedar Rapids still, I believe. So keeping it within the family again.
Yeah, they're small, they're quick, they're dynamic, and they're smart.
Yeah.
Who we got next? Brandon Mickelson. Love this pick. Dubuque again. Credit to Larson over there. He does his homework. Mickelson's undersized a bit, although they say 5'10", 150. He's an understated defenseman in that he's not flashy, but he's one of the better skaters in the draft. He's really smart. His game will translate at the next level. Saw him at the high performance another kid played Bantam hockey this year. We had him as one of the highest ranked Bantam players in the country because Bantams in Minnesota are different. It's really U15 in Minnesota, the 07s and 08s. And Mickelson's someone that the more you watch, the more you appreciate because he's such a high percentage player. He's highly intelligent. We actually have him higher on our board than where he went here, but I love that pick by Dubuque. Follow that up with another one of my favorites, Stephen Grumley for Green Bay. This is a guy who was a little bit overshadowed in camp because of Campion defenseman who went in the first round, maybe, NTDP camp invite. But Grumley was the better player at Nationals. His puck handling, ability to run a power play, he's swift laterally, he can walk the blue line effortlessly. Excellent puck handling defenseman, really poised, has a lot of possession time. I thought he was fantastic. He's a little bit undersized, which is probably why he went, in the 6th round. But in terms of skill, skating ability, and hockey sense, he's a 2nd, 3rd round talent. So that's
I'd love to jump in too there, Brendan. I love this pick by Mike Leone and Kirk Luedeke with Green Bay. What I love about Stevie's game is, he just plays with so much jam too. Like I've seen him, lay some big hits, and I've seen him get laid out a couple times, and he never backs down. He plays with that jam, and he brings in intensity that I haven't seen from a lot of 2007s. So that's what I really love about his game, and I think he's a great pickup for Green Bay.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, our 3rd goalie off the board, Samuel Doyen Katakis.
Yep.
Was the Mount St. Charles goalie this year. You saw a lot of them. What'd you think?
Yeah, he's a good-sized goalie. He's got great anticipation. He's quick laterally. He's, again, another kid who scans the ice and reads the width and depth on a rush. He's very rarely surprised about a cross-crease or a railroad pass. He seems to have the poise and the patience to outweight the shooters, and when he does, he anticipates where they're going to go. He reads the tell on the shot if a kid's going to go high or he's going to go 5-hole. He seems to be well prepared for what's going on. There's times that Mount St. Charles would play a little bit of run and gun, and it's just the style that they play because they've got some highly skilled kids looking to create offense, and he was able to shut down odd man breaks and anticipate the passes really well. He's a very good goalie.
Next up, this will be our first stump in the draft. Michael Cervesic out of
Bryanus.
We haven't seen this player. He plays in the J18, which is a really competitive league. Had a point a game this season in Sweden. So credit to them but we haven't seen this player, so I can't comment on him.
Yeah, leave it to Nick Fabrizio and Rocky Russo with Lincoln to stump you guys on their first pick of the international guys. But
hey, good for them.
Yeah, for sure. Next, you have Youngstown taking Michael Monroe out of Avon Old Farms. This kid is a rink rat. He loves to be in the rink. He loves to play. I think he's bigger than what they listed here. He's got him at 5'6.5", 154. I think he's bigger than that. He's an offensive kid that he played for the River Rats split season this fall, and he torched it about in age-appropriate hockey at a little over 1.5 a game. And then he got to Avon, Old Farms Prep School. They were New England Prep School champions. And as Brendan was saying earlier, you want kids that are winners that are out in high leverage situations. Well, yeah, with Monroe, the Avon was up 1 goal with about a minute and a half left. D-zone face-off, timeout. He's out on the ice in the defensive zone for a D-zone face-off, protecting a 1-goal lead, and they end up scoring an empty netter and went on to win the New England Prep School Championship. It said a lot for a 07 to be out there with big time, big moment at the end of a game, and this kid is he's a chance.
Yeah, not to mention youngest kid on that team. I think the only 07 on the team.
Yeah,
and they're a really good team.
Yeah,
like that Coach Gardner could have grabbed 10 guys that were Division I talents and put them on the ice, but he had him out there. So
yeah, like you said, they are arguably one of the best prep school teams in New England, and he was a huge component of that team this year when I've seen them play. He always found a way to contribute, whether it was offensive or defensively. So I like this pick for sure.
Next up, it's our 4th goalie off the board. Start to see goalies come here. Cedar Rapids takes Jake Shingles. Good size netminder for Pittsburgh Pens Elite. He's really competitive. That's what I like about this kid. He doesn't when he makes the first save, he battles back to get the second one. Pretty good fundamentals. He's got good paddles, both the blocker and the glove. Keeps the puck in front of him. A little bit of a shot blocking style goalie. So he does give up some rebounds, but really high compete level. That's what really jumps out at me with Shingles. Next up for Chicago, takes the local kid here, Jake Hutchin, another kid that had a strong showing at nationals. We've liked him from the very beginning of the year. He's a bit understated. He got a B+ at Minnesota Blades. He got a B+ at HPHL playoffs, and then he gets a B+ at the nationals. So a very consistent player. Like his passing ability. I think he's a guy that delivers it flat, hard, and on the tape. Gaps up well in the neutral zone. He's got pretty good hockey IQ. But yeah, wins pucks. He gets in on forechecks. Just got good size, good skill. Like his game.
Sorry.
Fine. Sorry, we're going off Ian's computer, so I never know who the next pick is. Parker Deschênes. Okay, this guy, his line mate was drafted a little earlier. This is a very good hockey player. Really, really skilled, high IQ, plays at pace. I'm actually really surprised he's waited this long to 90th pick. We have this kid in our top, well, I think maybe like 60, 70 in our thing. Change direction, and the puck sticks to the blade. It's one of those guys that goes into traffic areas, maneuvers through 2-3 guys. Head is always up. Had a really strong sectional. Minnesota High Performance Camp, I didn't see the 54s, but we graded him out as an A-. He was good at Minnesota High Performance, but not as good as he was in the playoffs. And maybe if they had made the state tournament, maybe it would have been different. But Deschênes a ball player. That's a really nice pick at 90. And then staying in Minnesota, Madison takes Nolan Geardes, another Rogers High School, so back-to-back. This is the opposite. Geardes was good in the high school season, strong skater, really mobile, closes the gap really well. But at high performance, he was outstanding. He had an A grade, and then he followed it up with a top 54 camp, strong performance there as well. Like I said, he's balanced. He's not a big, he's not going to run at guys and play an overly physical game, but he rubs guys off pucks. And another guy makes a really quick, hard outlet pass. I like his game a lot, and he's trending upwards. So nice.
All right, Ian and Brendan, let's take a little break here. Let you guys catch your breath. You guys could take a sponsored sip of BioSteel. We got a video to throw over here from Brett Link with the Fargo Force. You guys can, take a little bit of a rest, and then we'll get back through it and finish out the rest of the rounds.
It was really cool. The year before I played in an all, and to be selected in a league of this caliber by a team of this skill set, it was unbelievable. They've been huge. The support and passion that our staff has brought to the rink every day has helped my development so much on and off the ice. It's been awesome. I'm very honored to be a part of this organization. Everyone operates at the highest level of professionalism, which makes coming to the rink every day really easy. It's really cool to see all the hard work we put in this season pay off. To win the first Anderson Cup in our franchise history is a huge honor, but everybody in our locker room knows it's only one step to our final goal, Clark Cup. Good luck to everyone in the draft this year. Congrats on all your hard work paying off.
Would you say I need to give it an evens? Or
We got a special guest visitor. Doug's on.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Whether you like it or not, I'm jumping on. Gentlemen, you're doing a great job. Pretty unbelievable, the knowledge that you guys are able to just give on every single player. It's like Mel Kiper, if he had no notes and had a lot of names coming at him in a hurry. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. And Frank, good job plugging the BioSteel. Overall, thrilled you guys are doing awesome. But please, continue with the picks. Obviously, you guys are doing great, and I'll continue to chime in as we move forward.
Awesome. So our next pick here, Clark Nemens for Omaha. This is a balanced physical defenseman. Plays two-way, smooth skater, can run a power play. I think he was their top point getter this year on the back end for a really good Shattuck team. Physically mature.
California kid that went to Shattuck, moves the puck well. You just said he's competitive in his own head. He clears lanes. He establishes his ice early and he protects it. He can add some offense. I don't think he's not the kind of kid that's going to go end to end, but he can make an outlet and then jump into the attack and be a secondary option. He understands if there's a middle drive and he always forward as the puck in the wide dot lane. He comes in to be the high spot in the middle, and he times it perfectly and times it well. He's strong. He's physically mature. I think this is a good pick here by Omaha.
Next up, we got a late birth year netminder, Charles Menard out of Culver U16s. Had a strong stat year this year with the 16s. He actually comes out of Alaska. He was a kid who really jumped out at us last summer at the player development camp. Gave him a B rating there. Was a late round pick in the Western League, and then makes his debut this year for Culver.
Coached by the one and only Kevin Patrick, who had the displeasure of coaching me for 5 straight years at Culver. He's a former Green Bay Gambler coach and Union College coach. So shout out to Kevin Patrick at Culver.
Yeah, and UVM, come on.
That's right.
Come on. Yeah, Kevin Patrick's the best. Next up, we've got, are you fine? Max Silver. So LA Junior Kings, we've mentioned Campion, Kevin, Grumley. They've got a lot of talent, this team, but the heart and soul of this team is Max Silver. High compete, battles for every puck. He's got some skill. He's got a little bit of balance and power to get to hard areas, but it's his work ethic and it's his tenacity that makes this kid what he is. I heard a lot of USHL guys talking about him at Nationals. I think he might have surprised some guys. I don't know how much they knew him, and we were in the same boat. I didn't know him as well heading into that, but he made a really strong impression on everybody there. Next up for Des Moines, William Schneed, right winger.
From Rocco. We've got here Ed Biesinger has him. William is a long, lean, athletic winger that plays in the top unit for Rocco. The right side has a long, fluid stride. He gets on the ice well, and he plays at top speed all over the ice. He uses his body and reach to protect the puck, and he's very strong on the walls, and he wins battles looking to make plays. He plays fast through the neutral zone and drives wide to put defenders on their heels. He gets the net and shoots in stride to create rebounds. Took good angles when attacking the puck and forced turnovers while forechecking. Works hard on the back check and played an honest game in his own zone. Skilled without the puck and slips into soft spots in the offensive zone, looking to create scoring chances and spread the defense. So thank you, Ed, for that.
Next up for the Dallas Stars, we have Jackson Crowder. This is another high value pick. If they can get him to report, the word is he's looking pretty seriously at the Western League. This is a kid who had over a point a game playing U16, playing up a level. He's a little bit raw in his stride, but it's come a long way since last summer. Handles the puck really well for a guy with real reach, long wingspan. Can make defensemen look stupid, frankly. And he's a shooter. Shoot first type, 33 goals in 53 games.
Well, and obviously for Sioux City, they were at the Frosty Cup in Dallas. Taylor Ward, their general manager, was there. Did an outstanding job, or I should say, they did a really good job scouting the players there. They did a really good job evaluating the players who are down there, and so we obviously want to be supportive of all the guys who are there. And of course, Coach Silverman with Dallas does a fantastic job developing players.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have a great program. They actually had nationals down there. What was it, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
That was a really well-run event. This year they had the girls there, and our women's scouts were there, and they said it was outstanding as well.
I actually should say Troy Ward. Taylor is his son. I worked with him a while back.
Next up at 97, Cedar Rapids, Ryan Headley. This was one of my favorite kids at Nationals this year. We had him ranked, maybe around 100 or so, but he climbed up our board real quick after his performance at Nationals. He was playing on a Carolina Hurricanes team that I think they lost all 3 games. Tough competition, obviously, at that event. He didn't have as much to work with as some of the other players, and he was outstanding. Not just offensively, he leads the team in points by a lot, but he's an honest player. He gets back in his own end. He's physical, plays a strong two-way game. He's heading to Salisbury School next year to play for Andrew Will, one of probably the best prep program in New England. This kid is I can tell you that the NCAA Division I schools are all over this kid at that tournament. So he's a kid that's excellent value here in the 7th round. Next up, Ryan Aronson for Dubuque out of Chicago Mission. This kid, he's a bit understated in the sense that he plays on a really talented team in the Mission, and he's not the flashiest of guys, but he's one of the smartest guys. He's efficient, reads the ice. He's someone that's makes quick decisions. He doesn't have to overhandle it and wait for things to happen. He's got an explosive first step, and he's got decent balance. So
he's very dependable. I remember watching him a few years ago. There was a tournament at Harvard, and he was playing for Team Illinois, and he was a kid that was just very responsible. He played, like, as a young kid, he played big boy hockey. He stopped on the right side of the puck in the defensive zone. He was on the right side of the puck. At that point, I'm pretty sure he was playing center, but I just remember thinking during that game that as a young kid, he was very responsible and he didn't cheat looking for offense.
Next up, we have Ian, one of your favorites. Green Bay takes Brennan Defio out of the Long Island Gulls. He played up some 16s, played some U15.
He's an undersized kid. He's strong. He looks to make plays. He plays with pace. He's not afraid to initiate contact. He's on a line rush. He's not afraid to drive wide, initiate contact, and as soon as the defenseman thinks they've got something on him, he can spin off and create, pull back, do a button hook towards the wall, and then he accelerates up the wall to create a mismatch and gap. And if that back checker, comes at him for no reason, he can make a 5-foot, touch pass into space to the second wave coming into the zone. He's a kid. Every time you watch him play, he made an impact on me.
Next up is Paul Anderson for Lincoln. He played at Benilde St. Margaret this year in Minnesota high school. Kid played pretty good minutes for underage player. This year at the USHL Fall Classic, he started out with a B+ for us, someone we tracked throughout the year, and he finished really strong. I gave him an A at the Minnesota High Performance. And then he followed up our scout sum at the top 54 and gave him a B+. He's an honest player. He's hardworking. He kills penalties. He's got pretty good patience with the puck once he gets it. And he's not afraid to mix it up in the corner, battle in front of the net. Got a good balanced stride. Really like his game. I like his approach. His approach is that of a USHL player, and that kind of toughness and that well-roundedness that it takes to play in this league. Sorry, I skipped a guy.
You did.
Oh, didn't mean to skip you. Dylan Nolan, Tri-City, takes him, LA Junior Kings kid. He's one of their, I think he's 3rd on the team in scoring. Another guy, like I said, with LA, they've got a lot of talent, so he got a little bit overshadowed at times, but he's got a great motor. His feet are always moving. He's got a quick stick. He can make you miss. Doesn't risk the puck a lot. He plays a pretty up and down style. He's a good complementary player. Gets pucks to the center and then drives the net. So I like Dylan Nolan quite a bit, actually.
Next, Youngstown 102 takes Aiden Lawson. He's an undersized D-man from Fox Motors. He's remember this kid? He's really,
Love
really
this-
smart.
love this
He's
kid. One of my favorites.
yeah, he's great body position wise. Even though he's undersized, he knows how to take away the opponent's hips when he's in the defensive zone. He wins battles. He's quick. He moves the puck well. He jumps past the forechecker into the open ice. I remember talking to him or talking to you and Murph about him, about how heady he is and how smart he is. And you know, when he grows into his brain, he's going to be a heck of a player. This is a great pick here by Youngstown.
And one thing to add there is Ryan Kosecki, the general manager of Youngstown, agreed with you. He loved him and obviously loved him enough to bring him to Youngstown. So always nice to see when that synergy happens, that somebody who's coaching their youth team also brings him to the USHL.
Yeah, this guy, saw him at the Michigan State tournament, and if he's 5'11", he's a second, third round pick.
Oh yeah,
His brain is
very,
high
very
level.
smart.
He can skate. He's a quick decision maker. This is an excellent pick.
He's very deceptive with his passes. He doesn't look where he's passing. He looks away, or he draws the forecheckers the opposite way, and then he gives his teammates more time and space to make a play. As a kid, as soon as I saw him, he made me just say, "Ooh, look at this!" Like he's when he grows into his brain, look out.
Next up for Waterloo at 103 takes Timothy Runso. This was a guy I didn't know that much. I don't think we had him on our list. If we did, he was low to start the year in our midterms. But at nationals, he really stood out. He's got really good size. He's listed there at 5'9", but he's taller than that. I think that's an old height weight.
I got him at 5'9", 140.
Yeah, I think he's probably more like 5'11"-ish.
Yeah.
Super athletic, smooth in his hips, so he transitions well. Tough to get around. He's physical enough, but he closes his gaps really quickly, kind of deceptively. He's got long reach. And a lot of colleges were asking about this kid, which tells me he kind of came on the scene late. I don't think he was as well known, but made a really strong impression at nationals, and he had the college coaches talking about him a lot. So I like that pick. I think he's someone that's trending upwards. Ian, next pick, 104 at Cedar Rapids, takes Patrick Woods from your alma mater, Belmont Hill.
Yep.
Coached by Brian Finney. Tell us about his name.
So Patrick Woods he's probably a little over 6'1". They have him here at 6'1", 170. I think he's probably closer to 6'2". He's a very athletic kid. He's got a great skating base. Hips are low. He's got a long stride. He's strong. Talked a little bit earlier about a game when we saw Anthony Bongo back check, and defenseman Anthony Bongo back check to break up a play. That same game, about midway through, the Junior Eagles were losing 2-1, and it was almost like Woods decided that he kind of found himself as a big, strong power forward. He just kind of took over the game. He drove the net, and led to 2 goals. The Eagles ended up winning 3-2, and from that game, Coach Finney from Belmont Hill was standing about 3 feet on my right. And I have to believe that game propelled him into making the varsity team, and not just being a fourth liner, but being a kid who played and contributed. He played some center. He's strong. He's mean. He's tough. He shoots right-handed. He punches left-handed. He has some jam to his game and some edge. He's a kid in a couple of years with his size that I believe he'll be in the NHL draft mix.
Next up, Fargo takes Lewis Majcikozik, hopefully I pronounced that right, out of Armstrong Cooper High School in Minnesota. This was a guy we didn't have on our list going into camp, Minnesota High Performance Camp, and he made a huge impression. He was an A grade at that, followed up with a B+ at the top 54 camp. He's undersized, he's really quick, slippery, creative, thinks the game, and a good example of a guy that plays at a small school, not as well known, but he comes out at those district camps and made a huge impression. I think I did my video on him at the first day of that camp because he's fun to watch. Pulls away from defensemen. He's a guy that does those little spin moves and cutbacks and creates space for himself. High IQ. That's a really nice pick. And by the way, sitting 2 down for me that whole week was Kerry Eads, who's the one who took this kid. So obviously he was putting in the work too. Next pick, Jack Martins, undersized D out of Chicago Mission, mobile defenseman, quick to his what am I trying to say? Quick to cut down on forwards. He's not overly physical at this point, but he's got a good stick.
He's got very good timing. He moves on passes through the neutral zone. He's got good feet. Again, mission kid. He understands how to work for his partner, how to be an outlet in the defensive zone. If there's a scrum in the corner, he's not afraid to fall off the strong side post and call for a D-to-D when there's a jam going on in the corner. He understands that if there's just a 10-foot past him at the near side post, he can wheel the net, and he uses his feet to create transition and create the breakout. He's another kid. We've got him listed here at 5'7", 140. I think that's probably pretty realistic. And as he grows into his brain, he's got a chance here to be a player for Madison sooner.
Next up, Omaha takes Nicholas Sakura for Long Island Gulls. Think of him.
Competitive kid. He's strong in the offensive zone. He can keep the puck in the corner. He accepts contact. He's more than willing to stand with his back to the net and make it look like he's going to get run over by the other team's D-man. But as soon as they get close, he uses his edges to spin off contact, and he attacks the net with his head up, looking to make plays. He's sneaky strong. We had him here at 5'9" and a quarter, 152, but he does not get knocked down. He battles. He works at both ends of the ice. He's another kid, when he comes through the neutral zone, he doesn't just drift out wide looking for somebody to drive the net. He attacks the middle and makes the defenseman respect him, and then he kicks it wide and he goes to the net. He stops the net looking for rebounds. He's another Gulls player who, whenever I'd go to watch him play, I just thought he did all the little things right.
Yeah, I didn't. The time I went with you to any pack, I think he was hurt.
Yeah,
he didn't play that week. So I
obviously comes from good stock, Peter's son, so some pedigree and some knowledge about the next level and how to get there.
Yeah,
for sure. Next up, another one of your favorites, Ian Alexander Donovan.
Yeah,
hard working, tough, physical kid out of Shattuck, brings a little bit of a different element to that team this year. We saw the Nationals. I really liked his game.
Yeah, he's a leader. He's competitive. He does the right things. He's a hard worker. He's a kid who grew up playing for Mid-Fairfield, and he left Mid-Fairfield to go to Shattuck because he wanted to be challenged, and he responded really well. He just does the right things. He's driving the net. He stops on the net. His stick's prepared. He's got a quick stick on rebounds. Was it 2 weekends ago or 3 weekends ago at New England Player Development Camp? I thought he played excellent. He came in from Minnesota and played in the All-Star game. He's got a selection in national camp. He's a hardworking kid. He's honest. He's the kind of kid that coaches would love to have, because he can be out there at the end of a 1-goal game to protect the lead. He can be out there at the end of a 1-goal game looking to score the goal, because he's going to be right at the top of the crease.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised he fell this late. But he's not a flashy player, so maybe he didn't get that. But from an honest perspective, we have him quite a bit higher on our board.
Yeah.
Touching on what Ian said too, I had the chance to see him, being a Connecticut guy. I saw him at our team Connecticut camp before the New England development camp. Like Ian mentioned, this is a kid that can play in all situations, right? He can kill penalties. He can play on the power play, up a goal, down a goal. He's a player you want on the ice. So I do really like this pick from Sioux Falls.
Next up, Tri-City takes Andrew Horn. Andrew Horn's another guy that has climbed up quite a bit on our list. I'm just going to look up, see how high he. Yeah, so on our midterm list, this goes to show you every game matters. You never know who's watching. We had him at 253 going into the second half of the year. He finished our list at 51. Huge showing at Nationals. Gave him an A- there. B+ in the HPHL playoffs. This kid's a gamer. He's got great puck skills. Loves to join the rush, maybe too much at this age, but that's okay. He's young. We'll figure that out to pick his spots. But great puck control, puck possession style defenseman. Another guy that puck seems to stick to his blade. He's really balanced and strong on his edges. I think that's a great value at 109 for Tri-City.
Mission seems to have a lot of their D-men going.
Yeah,
they understand how to work for each other. They understand how to move without a puck, and he falls right into that category. There are times that he might overhandle it, but at this age, and I really don't have a problem with it. I think he's a great pick right here.
And obviously credit to the Chicago Mission with so many players getting drafted. It's really a credit to them and the players that they attract, the coaches that they have, and then obviously the job the players do, showcasing themselves with the opportunities they're given. It's really great to see all of it.
I mean, they work. That team works very, very hard. You know, they have been for the last few years.
Next up, Des Moines takes Aiden Grosskloss out of Woodbury High School. This kid averaged over a point a game this past season. He's another guy who's slippery, hard to get a body on, kind of a wiry forward, agile, quick set of hands. We graded him high, A- at both the Minnesota High Performance as well as Top 54 camp. Didn't see him during the high school season, so that was a big impression he made at the High Performance. But I just thought he's a guy who's really hard to defend against in open ice. Below him, Will Distad out of Sioux City. This is another really good value, not only because he's ready now. He's a 5'11", 182, strong skater, but he's got deceptive upside offensively. Played out of White Bear Lake High School. He's played against older competition. He's got a pretty good shot from the point. He's balanced. He's got some wiggle on the forecheck to get off forecheck pressure. Really like his game. He's another guy, A- at the last two events. So Distad, and he just he'll be at Buffalo this summer. He was selected out of Minnesota, which is the toughest pool to get selected out of in the country to go to national camp. 112, Mason Miner, sticking with Minnesota. Benile St. Margaret. Mason Miner is another guy who had just had a huge showing at the High Performance camp, followed it up with a strong showing at Top 54. He was on a team, pretty talented team, balanced team, but he got some minutes on the back end. He's 6'1", he's 185. He's really hard defensively. He plays an old school game. He likes to throw his weight around. He's tough in front of the net, boxes out, lifts the stick. He's not puck watching. Really tough to play against. And he passes the puck like a USHL player, snaps it off, firm, crisp, on the tape. Because in the USHL, if you don't put zip on that pass, it's getting picked off. Next up, another one of Ian, one of your favorites for Dubuque.
Tommy Belisle. Mid-Fairfield kid. He's got great feet. He's a great skater. Obviously moves really well. He uses his feet to gap up. He works early to set his gap, even though he's undersized. He plays in your face. He's got a great stick. It seems to get a stick on everything. Defensively, he breaks down the lanes. And then he retrieves pucks. He's looking over his shoulder. He picks pucks up the wall very easily, and you can cut the net and lose the forechecker. He understands how to turn back and find the winger in the offensive zone. He moves well laterally across the blue line. If a puck's wrapped around the wall, he can pick it up and pull it and get to the middle to have a better shooting angle and create some tips for himself. He's the December 07, so he's physically still growing into himself, but his skating base, his stride, his posture, everything, he's kind of got what you look for when you watch a kid skate. He's a pretty dynamic kid.
The next two picks here we haven't seen. They're both European players. Jan Chauvin to Youngstown. He's playing the Finnish U18 league. And then Adam Nemec for Waterloo. Might have heard of his brother Simon Nemec, who was the second overall pick by New Jersey last year.
So Adam here says he's October 18th birth year, so he's a late 07. And if he's
on a little bit of a spoiler alert, one of the things that I like just looking at this, the next 5 picks, including the 2 that you've had, they're all international players. They all come from really good programs, and from a USHL point of view, being able to attract high-end players from across the planet has really added to the depth of our league, and obviously the high end too. And as you guys are going through this, I think it's a credit to the coaches in our league, the credit to the general managers for identifying it, and then at the end of the day, building the relationships and being able to say, this is a path for you to try to get yourself to the National Hockey League, regardless of where you're from. And I think those are really key things for our coaches and players. And then at the end of the day, for the league as a whole. So it's great to see, and it'll be fun to watch them as they come over. And as Frank just added, there have been 10 mission players who've been drafted. So we said it was a lot. 10 is a lot, and we're not done yet. So obviously credit to Mission. But as we're breaking down these next few picks, it's pretty exciting to see so many players from all over the world.
I mean, collectively with Mission, they play a style of game where they work without the puck. I think Brendan talked about it earlier with the players who, do all the skill work, and that's great that you do it because you have to have the skills. But Mission, those guys, their team, they move without the puck. They understand that sometimes they're moving to create space and passing lanes and open opportunities for their teammates. And I think that's why you're seeing these guys picked, because they're mentally closer to being ready to play in the USHL probably than some of their peers. You have to be highly skilled. You have to be able to make plays, but you also have to understand how to move without the puck. And I think that these Mission kids, they've been doing that for the last couple of years since I started watching them.
Yeah, it's really impressive what they do too. The Mission staff with all the good players, obviously, 10 kids taken so far and we're still going. But to be able to manage, that level of skill on a team like that it is really impressive. So kudos to them for sure.
I was just going to piggyback off what Doug was saying with the international players. I mean, if you look at the USHL right now, some of the best players in the league are international. Artem Levshinov.
That was excellent pronunciation.
Thank you, from Belarus.
Seeing him at the Fall Classic, remember he came on the ice in warm-ups. It was like, who's this? And then the game went on. It just looked like he was playing at a different pace than everybody else. He had no panic. Just easy game. He's
a high-level NHL draft pick, and in Switzerland we saw the goalie Hrabel from Omaha
and Skrbek.
And Skrbek.
Yeah, right.
Skrbek. So there's some really good USHL players playing overseas, and like Doug was saying, the league's attracting those players. Tyson Guggen, right?
This kid can rip it.
Yeah, he's a high skill. He's very highly ranked on our Q draft ranking.
He's got a great release. He's got the kind of shot when he comes in and fires it. Most players, they take a snapshot, their bottom hand slides down the shaft, 2 or 3 inches, and then they lean into the stick and whip it. And I would imagine that this kid's been watching Connor Bedard shoot, because he pulls the puck in, his hand doesn't slide, and he just has like a fling and a whip on it, and he puts it up under the bar all the time. He's a fun kid to watch play. He's strong. He's very good on face-offs. He's I don't know. I really like this kid. I love the way he shoots.
Yeah, he's a ball player.
Yeah.
He's not a guy, you take a risk at this late in the draft, trying to go after some high level players. He'd be considered a high level player.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
He can play for sure.
Ivan Rabakin and Kurban Limanov, back-to-back Omaha picks, European players that we haven't seen. And then Sioux Falls at 119 takes Holden Pager. This kid out of Holy Family Catholic, averaged over 2 points a game last year, almost 3 points a game, averaged a goal a game. Another guy at that Minnesota High Performance that really stood out, got an A- from us. He's a two-way player. I think that's the thing that really stands out. He doesn't cheat in his own end. His feet are always moving. He pushes the pace. He's got a pretty balanced stride for a kid who's only 145 pounds. And he's relentless on the forecheck, caused a lot of turnovers, and just got after it. He's a guy that is going to fit in really well there. Fargo at 120 takes Gavin Core. Talk about a dynamic playmaker. He's up there, one of the most dynamic kids in the draft.
Undersized kid, but man, can he make plays? He plays with his eyes up. He sees what's going on. He can have a player rush at him. He has no panic. He's not concerned that he might get run over or anything like that. He can spin. He can protect it. He can put it through the player's feet for a little 5-foot pass and then jump through it. He looks to make plays on every shift. He looks to create offense. No matter where he is, he's looking to create offense. Even in the defensive zone, when he gets a pass, he's looking to see what's going on with the other team's defenseman. He's looking to see where the back checkers are, and he's literally looking to take advantage of any odd man situation that he possibly can. He's very strong on his feet. He's a dynamic kid. Excuse me.
All right, perfect. I think we'll let you guys have one more break. You could have a sponsored sip of BioSteel. We got another video coming through from Tori Pittner with Youngstown. Yep, the Rainbow Twist is probably the best flavor in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. But yeah, let's toss it over to Tori Pittner right now with Youngstown.
Hi, I'm Tori Fittner. I'm number 71 for the Youngstown Phantoms, and this is my draft day experience. Was at school, so kind of just woke up, went to class. Everyone kind of knew about the draft day. It was online, so had a good feeling throughout the day. I had actually talked to Youngstown the night before, so just went to lunch, went back to class, and we had it. Our teacher was nice enough to let us project it onto the screen in class, and so one of my good buddies went, and so everyone went nuts for that, and then I went shortly after that, and so class kind of stopped for 15 minutes. Had to take a few phone calls from Desi, our GM, and Kiseki, our other GM. So then once class was over, go down to the rink. We had practice, so not too much time to really let it sink in. But that night for sure, calling my mom, some of my buddies, just super exciting, really fun day, and something I look back on with fond memories. I don't know, I feel like all the guys have been really great since I got here, so I think that the culture we have here in Youngstown's great, and we're really working towards winning a championship this year, so just really excited to continue this playoff push and keep everything going. Just enjoy it, have fun, it all goes by so quick, so just try and take a breath, maybe take in the moment a little bit, and enjoy it, because you worked really hard to get to this point, so just take a breath. Oh, I called my mom after I got done with practice and everything, so had to be my mom. She was my biggest supporter when I was growing up, always driving me to practice and everything, so it was mom first and then grandma second, so just everyone that's been there to support me throughout my hockey career so far.
Just got a quick question as we enter round 9 and 10. Brennan, Ian, Frank, anything stand out to you so far? Anything that you found really interesting? I know that the picks have been coming in fast and furious, but has there been anything that stood out over the rest?
I would say for me, USHL is typically known as a big physical defensive league. So typically in the draft, you see a lot of Midwest, big, strong, physical kids. I'm seeing.
Are you saying that because
more...
I'm on this? Is that it?
No. I'm actually saying it as a compliment to say you're seeing some smaller, speedier, skilled players than I think I've seen in years past.
Yeah, I was gonna say what Brendan said earlier about kids coming off of winning teams. They're winning is a skill and it matters, and you have to be competitive and you have to battle. You have to know what it takes to win. And I think coaches in the USHL, they don't want to take, they're going to take the time to teach the kid the systems and how to play and all that, and all the things like that. But it's a lot easier to have a kid who understands when to make the right decisions at the lines, to get it in and out, or get the puck deep and understand the flow of a game and when you're supposed to change, rather than staying out there to sniff for the the cheesy second assist or the plus. So I think the winning matters.
What about you, Frank?
Yeah, for sure. One thing I kind of noticed, which is great for our game, and USA Hockey especially, is you see so many teams, youth hockey, AAA, U15, U16 teams represented in this draft. I mean, we got kids from LA, we got kids from Caesars, we got kids from Michigan, we got kids from Omaha, right? Like there's so many good programs represented. I think that's kind of a thing that I'm noticing. And as the draft goes on, you can kind of see, what teams are looking for based off their draft and what their tendencies are. So I would say that was probably the biggest thing that I noticed, is just how deep hockey is across the United States for sure. And then obviously with a few of the internationals that were just taken as well.
It's outstanding. Well, I'll let you guys finish this off. Thanks again so much. Great work, and get back to the picks. Well done.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
So we left off at 120. So our next pick at 121, Madison takes Casey Bridgewater out of Halton Hurricanes. For those who don't know, as Frank was just talking about the strength of the U.S. programs, this is a kid, the Halton Hurricanes program was really strong this year. Typically they're, an average, maybe a little bit above average. This year they had a wagon, including #1 pick in the OHL draft, Matt Schaefer, and I think top 5, Tyler Hopkins. So he was on a very talented team and a talented blue line. He's an excellent skater. He's balanced. He's fluid. really nice gap control. Needs to work on, getting a little more physical, a little harder to play against, but he's a player we had heard was considering U.S. hockey, and this would be a steal at 9th round pick. If this kid was playing U15 in the States, he's a top half of the draft.
Yeah, Brendan, I got to jump in here too and give a quick plug to our Canadian scout, Jake Wood. He actually coaches the Halton Hurricanes 08 team. And, quick little fun fact, they were the first Canadian team to attend a USHL youth event. They attended the American Cup. So Woody's doing a great job of exposing these kids to the USHL. He's a guy that played in the league, and, he's a huge advocate for our league. So I'm happy that one of the Halton guys gets taken here, and I'm sure he's telling all of his buddies right now as he's watching. So quick plug for him.
Yeah, awesome. Next up, Omaha at 122 takes Ryder Reynolds, right shot D, late birth year out of Omaha AAA.
Yeah, so here we're going to go to scout Andrew Serpico's notes. He's at Reynolds is a mid-sized athletic defenseman that made smart step-ups and has an active stick. He uses his frame to lean into guys and then poke pucks loose with his long stick. Ryder doesn't miss when he steps up, and he dispossesses the opposition, taking smart angles and knowing where to be before he has to be there. Reynolds thinks the game quickly and anticipates well with and without the puck. Made a few nice high flips to relieve pressure, landing deep in the neutral zone where his guys had a chance to win the race to create offense. 2 of his assists on the weekend came from that exact play, and that came from the Exposure Cup in February. So thank you.
Next up, we have Jack McDonough, younger brother of
younger brother Will McDonough. Will's a righty, Jack's a lefty. He's got good size. He's about 6 feet, 170 pounds. Plays for Lovell Academy from Duxbury, Mass, which is where I'm from. So I've known Jack since he was little. He's got a great release. He can shoot through screens. He shoots while his feet are moving. He's very competitive. He's strong. He plays a hard-nosed game. I think this is a real bargain right here. This year, Lovell, Boston Advantage, Lovell Academy, they were building new rinks, so it was tough to see these guys play because their schedules always bounced around when the rink was going to get done. But this is a good pick here because if he was playing in that rink, which is absolutely gorgeous, was finished earlier, and there were people that could get in there to see him, I think he would have been a higher pick, and I think he probably would have had a chance, honestly, to get to NTDP camp. He's big, he's strong, competitive. He's got some mean to him, and he can rip it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jack since last summer, but you're describing his brother too. I mean,
it's
strong, mean, and can shoot it.
Yeah, he's got some edge to him. I mean, I think Will got suspended a couple times this year for hitting a little too hard, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jack have a couple of those situations headed his way. He's a competitive kid. He's strong as a bull. He's playing lacrosse right now, and like I said, he's from the same town I am, and the town has a very good lacrosse program, so he's an athlete, and he's got a real edge to him.
Another team we see keeping it in the family. I think Will's playing for Sioux Falls as well currently. So
yeah,
that's our second team, I believe, Chicago and Sioux Falls keeping it within the family. So good to see.
Next up, Muskegon takes Nick Coring out of Eden Prairie High School. Big, long left shot D. Him at 140, but I think that's a little old because kid's strong. He's physical. Doesn't put up a lot of points at this point, although I don't think that's going to stick. I think he'll have an added role next year. Eden Prairie is a pretty good program, obviously, but he's hard to play against. He has got really good defensive instincts. He knows how to read a forward when they're trying to go wide on him, when they're trying to cut in. He's physical. He has some jam to his game, long reach. Really disruptive stick. He breaks up passes coming into the slot and played some key minutes for that Eden Prairie team. Next up for Des Moines, at pick number 125 is Miles Acree. Really smooth skating defenseman out of St. Louis Junior Blues. Mobile, good stick, long reach. Not overly physical, but he plays the body and he keeps his eyes on the chest. Doesn't get faked out by little stick skill moves. So nice pick there. And a kid, he's only 6 feet 150. He's going to get stronger. But you can't teach that kind of footwork and athleticism. Sioux City takes Adam Salin out of Slovakia. Haven't seen him. And Cedar Rapids, pick number 127, takes Henry Peterson, a kid who's really been climbing up boards. 6'3" right shot D out of Hermantown High School. He had a phenomenal Minnesota high performance camp. Followed that up at the top 54. He only had 3 points on the season in 20 games. He wasn't someone that I don't even think we had him on our board. If we did, he was low. And then shot like a rocket after that camp. Pretty good mobility. He's hard. He's physical. Plays an honest game. Really tough to get around. And he can move the puck, and he's got real zip on it. He's a mature player whose game will translate to this level. Next up at 128, Omaha takes Mario Fate, 5'8", 160-pound centerman from the AAA.
So we'll go back to Andrew Serpico's report from the Exposure Cup in February. Fate is a total 200-foot player for the mastery that brings a lot to the table each shift. He's a smaller guy, but he travels with force and effort. Mario is smooth, fast, and lightning quick in open ice. To get to open ice, he can get low on defenders, leaning into them while holding the puck and either spin off or drive through them wide when he needs to. Fate is a high compete player and is relentless when he sees the puck, making it his mission to come out with it or whoever has it. Mario is constantly playing at pace and pressure the issue whenever he can. He is a total team player, taking care of the minor details and defending well in his own zone. But in a few situations allowed him to show up his individual skill, and he delivered when it mattered. His first goal of the weekend came after a puck got flipped high in the neutral zone, which goes right back to the last mastery guy we talked about. He caught it between 4 other players and used his speed. While boxed out in between them, he managed to make sticks and bodies miss, still got a shot off, and then he forced his way to the net and buried his own rebound. He packs a punch at his size and is not someone to take lightly. His second goal in the game against South Kent came after he won a face-off by Klein. Fate then tapped it back to his defenseman, raced the net, and hammered home a rebound. He is dangerous off the perimeter, scary off the rush, and plays with speed and power. He's a gritty skill, was on full display over this weekend, finishing with 4 goals and an assist. Definitely made an impact that weekend.
Next up for Green Bay, Jack Koltgen, right shot D, late birth year out of Shakopee High School. This kid's a really underrated kid, so I like Green Bay's pick here. Shakopee had a lot of young, talented, led mostly by Cooper Simpson, who was a USHL tender. There were like 4 or 5 other 07s on that team that made an impact, but you didn't hear Koltgen's name as much as some of the others. But he's someone who's really come on the scene. He had 13 points in 27 games. He's got pretty good size. He moves the puck well. He's mobile, pretty fluid in his hips. So I like this pick because he's a little bit underrated, but the kid's got plenty of game. And he returns next year to a talented Shakopee team that's only going to be a year better as they were young this year. A scout of ours, Brent Colleton's assistant there, does a great job. So nice pick there for Green Bay. Tri-City, they take pick number 130, Josh Toll out of Rosemont High School. Let me have to look him up. Didn't see Rosemont, I don't think.
It's another stump one.
Might be. I'm looking up the old notes here. Okay. Yeah, I don't have much in our internal system. He played 27 games, 2 assists, 2 goals, 17 assists for 19 points. Out of Rosemount High School. Rosemount is a really good program. Putting up that kind of numbers in Minnesota high schools in 07 is pretty impressive. 5'8", 125. But yeah, I don't have any notes in my system. Next up in the 9th round, 131, Lincoln Stars takes Blake Umberger. Seen him, Ian?
No, we have Steve Williams. Saw him at South Kent Classic 15s. Umberg is a newbie to neutral zone and was super impressive. He was second in scoring in U14 last season. After watching him, we can see why. He's already about 6 feet, has a long, fluid stride. He's still raw, still learning how to play the game in all areas, but he has a ton of upside. He's super crafty with a puck, showed the ability to beat guys inside out with his soft hands, really work guys low below the goal line using his size and strength to protect the puck and get them to the net. Get a couple of points here, including a goal showing up a quick release with some zip on it. He has good compete, his ability to dominate competition, and his motor is running at all times. He's under the radar, the kid of where he's playing, but he has a very high upside.
Very nice. Next up, Blake Umber. I saw him at the AYHL All-Star game. I thought he was the best kid in the whole tournament, and he's the first AYHL kid to get drafted, or THF. He's strong, he's physical, he's got good balance. Youngstown here at 9th round, pick 132. This could be the steal of the draft if they're able to bring Mathis Stark down to Youngstown. This is a big two-way complete player. Might be the most complete player who's been drafted thus far. We have him as a top 10 pick in the OHL draft. He slid because he's got interest in playing down south. This would be tremendous value if they can get him. He's such an honest player. He can score, drives the net. He has all the details that you want to see in a player. Plays like an 18, 19-year-old junior player already on a really talented Marlies team. That's an excellent pick. Next up, Waterloo takes Landon Knights out of Oakland Junior Grizzlies. I believe he's their leading scoring defenseman, I should say. Played with Tumanaro. Yeah. Late birth year, 6 feet, 180.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him, Ian?
He's a smooth skating defenseman with quick, soft hands. He skates with quick feet and sneaky speed, which combined with his quick, soft hands allowed him to get the puck up the ice. He joined the rush, wheels the puck out around the offensive zone, looking to activate down through the lanes. He can skate the puck up the ice with good control and make the first pass. Showed the ability to slip between the forecheckers, and his great skating allowed him to keep the puck control and receive it back. Closed on puck carries quickly using good reads. And his skating ability to his advantage, he was quick on the puck and stepped up on one-on-ones, pressuring at the blue line. He made nice passes on tight 3-on-2, understood how to join the rush, filled the lanes. Let's see what else here. He understood how to gain the offensive blue line and turn away from pressure. He's got good edges, good speed, and the ability to make a pass before anyone else is ready. Shoots the puck for rebounds and understands how to maintain defensive side positioning.
Next up, we have Wesley Jefferson Swint, long, athletic netminder out of Detroit Victory Honda. Saw him at the Michigan State tournament. He's really rangy. He's got a good glove. He's confident in it, flashes it, moves pretty well down low. Did give up some rebounds, but he's quick enough to reset and get in position. He's a little bit off our list. We had him right on the bubble, but I think with his size and his athleticism, flexibility, he's going to be a player to keep an eye on. Nice pick there by Chicago. And then Fargo at 135 takes Wyatt Spaniewski out of Chicago Fury. Thought he was their best player this year. He's physical, he's tough, goes into the dirty areas, throws his weight around. He's someone Fargo will appreciate his style of play.
He's a guy that I got to see too at the USHL Combine this year. Like you mentioned, all those intangible things, right? He plays hard. He's hard to play against. He's tough. He was one of the better players at the Combine for Team Gensel. So kudos, to Kerry Eads and the Fargo Force for the pick.
Next one up, we've got Bryce Wittala, if I'm pronouncing that right, out of Holy Family. This is a kid we like a lot. We have him ranked higher than most, I think. Good size, pretty athletic. had 44 points in 24 games at Holy Family this year. Has good reach, protects the pucks well in the dirty areas. He's got pretty good touch, I think deceptive touch. And as a player, we were really surprised wasn't at top 54 because his size and his upside and what he's able to do offensively. I think this is a real player. So a bit underrated in the state of Minnesota. Next up, Omaha at 137 takes Carson Steinoff. Really strong, balanced skating, mature defenseman, can really snap it off. Ian, I know you went out and saw these guys earlier.
Yeah, he played as an 8th grader for Shakopee. He's a leader. He can probably jump into the play more than he does, but he's very responsible and stays on the defensive side of the puck. He's strong as a bull, and he's physically right there, ready to compete for a spot in the USHL. He'll go to Omaha's camp this summer and do really well because he's physically, he's a bull. He's thick, he's strong, he's a leader. He's got good habits. He's already, he's played 2 years of varsity hockey. He's an 8th and 9th grader, so he's got experience, and he's a good pick here.
Next up, we have John Alex Banks for Sioux Falls. This is a mobile, heady defenseman out of the North Jersey Avalanche. I think this is their first Avalanche player off the board. Probably because the big guy there, Brutzwitz, went first round in the OHL draft.
Yeah.
Probably scaring some guys. But John Alex Banks is a really nice puck-moving defenseman. Smart. Makes quick reads, good on the power play.
He's got really good feet across the line.
Yep.
Offensive blue line, he can walk it and keeps his head up, and gets the wingers, whoever's coming out to him, to put their stick in one lane, and he changes his own stick angle or stick blade very quickly to go the other way. Every time I've seen him play, he's made plays along the offensive blue line that have huge poise and huge stones to pull him off.
Next up, we have Ethan Drabicki. Good size forward out of Detroit Victory Honda. Saw him at the Michigan State tournament. Really like his game because he's got some power. He's a shooter, and he's also high compete. He's a dog on a bone. He fights for every piece of loose ice he can get, wins puck battles, and then takes it hard to the net and can finish. I think Drabicki is a player who has a style of play that'll fit Muskegon. And usually at 10th round picks, you're taking a shot in the dark, but I think he's actually a kid who pretty reliable two-way player that I would not be surprised if he ends up in this league. Des Moines goes out of country in Finland for Ani.
Come on, you got it.
Celtic-Gangas.
Celtic-Gangas.
Late 07 forward, which we haven't seen. And then Sioux City at 141 with Billy McCausland, one of our personal favorites. Little guy, but man, is he skilled. And you might say, okay, he's small and maybe that won't translate, but played prep school hockey this year and was one of the best 07s in the league.
He buzzes, he flies, he's competitive. I thought the biggest jump that he made this year, he's always had good speed. He's always been really competitive, but he started to pass the puck like an older kid. He fired, he zip passes on the power play. He'd be on the mid wall and he'd attack like he was going to go in and fire, and then he'd just put a missile through the Royal Road right on the tape that the other team's penalty killers couldn't respond to. He's competitive. He wins battles. His feet are always moving. He learned how to change pace this year. When he was younger, he used to be a full speed all the time on the rush. This year, he started changing speeds and changing angles coming through the neutral zone. This is a kid. He had a huge impact last year for Nobles. His older brother played on the 4 Nations or 5 Nations out of the 06 camp last year in Buffalo, and Billy McCausland this year, he really, really did well for himself and turned into a key guy for Nobles.
Yeah, good team too.
Yeah, very good team.
Next up, we have Jack Weidman, left shot D out of Rocky Mountain Rough Riders, actually from Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is interesting. This is a kid who's had a really good second half of the season. We saw him down in Nashville. Moves pucks clean, efficient, high compete level. It's quick to pucks. Head is always on a swivel. Processes quickly on the breakout. Makes a lot of high percentage plays. Next up, Dubuque takes a bit of a shot here. Alex Wang. Wanger's probably the top. He's going to be 1, 2, or 3. I'm guessing he'll end up being 1 in our final Q draft ranking. Exceptional skating defenseman, high level puck movement. This kid's got NHL written all over him. So, smart to take a shot at somebody like that at this phase in the draft. A hidden gem that I love, Green Bay has had a couple of these so far. Robin Benoit. This is another Eastern Canadian who is playing in the USPHL Premier League, which is not as common of a route as you'd seen. He's a good sized winger, a young player for that league. He anticipates well. I'm just reading some of our most recent notes because I haven't seen this kid in a year, but smart, recognizes the play. Quick on transition, makes smart, high percentage plays, changes direction quickly, can change pace against the defender on a one-on-one. Smart reads, tough to defend against an open ice. I love that pick. We have him in our Q draft list. I felt like we had a secret there that maybe other people didn't know, but clearly we don't. Green Bay's all over it. So I love that pick. You don't see many 07s playing junior hockey in their 15, 16-year-old year. So, and he's having great success. He's got 52 points in 43 games. Next up, Dylan Crayer for Tri-City out of Mount St. Charles. Ian, you've seen a lot of this kid.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit bigger than listed there at 5'8", 145. He's a give-and-go type player. He passes it, he moves his feet, he jumps into the ice, he looks to give it back and keep going. This year, I thought he just kept getting better and better as the year went on. The Mount St. Charles had, Fondrick and Whitehead as probably their top 2 forwards from the start, and as the season went on, Dylan Crayer was playing with the 2 of them, and when those guys were playing with them, they were getting more points. He's a good skater. He plays with his head up. He's got a good release. He gets it off quickly. He doesn't need to stick handle after receiving a pass. He can make the next play and has a good first touch. Like I said, he's a give and go player, and that's when he's at his best, when he's giving it, going, getting it back, and doing it again, and then attacking the net.
Yeah, what I love about his game too, I had a chance to see Mount St. Charles a bunch. Like you said, he just keeps it simple, right? Plays the game the right way. Puck's on his stick, it's off his stick. He's doing all the right things and being responsible on both sides of the puck. So that's what I love about him.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a goalie. Mark, you want to hop on here? Mark is our guy in the back end who makes all these shows work for us. And he's seen this kid. It wasn't this year; it was last year at the Chowder Cup. Might even been 2 years ago. But we just saw him recently at the EP Cup tournament. And all I had written down was long, athletic, and smooth. But a 6-foot netminder at a Fairmont High School out in California. Kid to keep an eye on, and played that EP Cup series right at the end. I think like 2 weeks ago, and had a strong showing there. Youngstown takes Owen Boucher out of Fox Motors. This was probably, other than who did we talk about? Lawson.
Yeah.
Earlier. This is probably their next best player. Again, their coach is the assistant general manager of Youngstown, so obviously he's pretty comfortable with this kid. He's got good size. He's strong. Plays an honest game. And he's got more skill than he gets credit for, but he's a two-way centerman. And we had him as a B+ at the Michigan State tournament. And you like this guy, Fargo,
Yeah.
148, Jake Faith. This guy is built like a man, shoots the puck like, I don't want to say a pro, but Just
he's
about.
a big, strong kid. Loves contact. He can snap it off with real authority. When he runs into somebody, they go flying. He's sturdy.
Yeah, he was a man among boys at the high performance.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, he just throws bodies around in front of the net. He's got physicality. He just snaps a pass off like a veteran junior player, and a heavy shot. He likes the offense. I mean, that's one thing that's underrated about his game is that the kid likes to have the puck on his stick.
Yep.
He's not just hunting guys down and throwing his weight around. He's a two-way player. So that's a nice pick. That's a nice value pick. Next up, Green Bay takes Thomas Trenko, going out of country again, late 07. And then Cedar ends the draft. The last pick, Owen Knight out of Lambton in Ontario. We had this kid pretty highly ranked in our OHL draft rankings. Really explosive skater, sneaky release, quick set of hands, great in transition. He's a player that second he gets a puck on his stick, he pulls away. And he's also a pretty heady player. He's smart. He makes guys around him better. So really like that pick, Owen Knight. If they can get him, they can pluck him from the Ontario League. This kid's dangerous.
Gentlemen, obviously, first and foremost, thank you so much, Frank, Brennan, Ian. Before we go, any final thoughts on anything that you saw one way or the other, anything that really stood out to you now that the Phase I draft is complete?
I would say that we're seeing from the tenders especially, what did we do, 8 tenders and 4 of them were nine, sorry. 4 or 5 of them were Canadian. You didn't see that 10 years ago. You didn't see that probably even 5 years ago, that some of the best players, Zach Moran, Kilfoyle, Lev Katzen, high-level guys, first-round draft grades for CHL leagues are signing tenders in the USHL. And you're seeing USHL teams are going after, even in the later rounds and middle rounds, they're not afraid of kids that have been drafted in the CHL.
No.
The way that I think it was certainly 10 years ago. And that trend is just getting more and more. So that I would say
you look at the success of Owen Power. We discussed Lepchunov in Green Bay. You look at Bosever and Muskegon. I mean, you get high-level kids from different countries from all over the world in our league now. Fantilli obviously is going to go really high after winning the Hobie Baker Award coming from Chicago. You see these kids coming and having success and being able to turn that into the NHL draft status. I think that's fantastic. And success breeds success, quite frankly. And so that's fantastic. Anything from you, Ian?
I would just talk to the kids that weren't selected right now. That you have motivation right now that you haven't had. If you thought going into this that you were going to be a pick and you weren't, you got motivation to prove people wrong, and you've now earned the motivation needed. That if you have a doubt that you're thinking that you don't want to shoot pucks or you don't want to work out, you now know that you've got guys that and people that are decision makers that you're going to prove wrong. And this could be a launching point for you to have a heck of a summer to build on yourself and start right here in the spring to get ready to go. Because if you're not picked now, this isn't going to define you. You've got to have the mindset that you're going to come back and you're going to prove everybody wrong.
100%. What about you, Frank?
Yeah, no, I think Brendan and Ian kind of hit the nail on the head. What I'm most excited for is I think the future is very, very bright. For our league, looking at the draft and the tenders like we just spoke about, there's no better time to be a part of our league, and I'm excited to be a part of the league and to see, what the future holds for a lot of these players that got drafted today and who will get drafted tomorrow. So.
Well, obviously, huge thanks to Logan and Paul from our media staff. Fantastic work. Brandon as well. Really, really huge credit goes to all of them. And Mark did a fantastic job from Neutral Zone behind the scenes, pulling these things together. This was not an overnight thing. And so Thanks to all of them. Obviously, Frank, thank you so much, Brennan and Ian. For those of you who are watching, please note that the Phase II draft will be done tomorrow in a similar fashion. Please go on to Neutral Zone socials to be able to get that information for all of the picks. The 07s that weren't taken today can still be taken tomorrow. And obviously, Neutral Zone does an outstanding job. And so if you're looking for more information, feel free to subscribe to them throughout the season. Without further ado, thank you again. The future is bright. We're looking forward to welcoming all of the new players who were drafted today. Congratulations. And for those of you who weren't, well said, Ian, the future is still bright. Time to put in the work and catch up and put yourself where you want to be. So thank you all, and look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Doug.
Good night, everyone.